Good, how are you? You up? 8 o'clock.
It's just not a good time to have
Good.
any raises.
Does your dad do a lot of hunting too?
Yeah, he used to.
Good morning. It's August 11th, 2022. Regular board meeting agenda at the Magna Water District, 8885 West, 3500 South, the General Office Building. Present today is we got Clint Dilly, Nathan Bracken, Dallas Henline, Jeff White, Mick Sudbury, Danny Stewart, Leals Fitzgerald, Raymond Mondragon, and Trevor Andre. I'd like to welcome public and guests. And do we have anybody have anything that want to address the board? We see none. Okay, moving on. Okay, does anybody here today have a conflict of interest with anything with this agenda?
Are we gonna have a pledge of allegiance?
Oh, you know what? Guess what? I'm ahead of it. So will we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
There he is.
I hate to slow you down, you were flying.
Glad you made it, Don.
It's good to be here.
Okay, item F, approval of comment consent items.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on July 14th, 2022.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned second, all in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the expenses for July 7th to August 7th, 2022. The general expenses of $654,487.81, and the Zions Bank bond payment for $83,282.19.
I'll second that.
Been motioned second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to item G, the general manager's report. Clint?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I've got, you've got a copy of the report in your packets. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. I may go a little out of order just so we can accommodate and get our guests here today going in the field. But I would like to address the comment that was raised to the chair by one of the employees on the customer service meter crew about staffing. There's been a substantial increase in workload with all of the development that has occurred out here in the district, and all of the repair and replacements that we have, the program that we have been doing, along with an increase in leak reports, conservation related calls, and checking on water use, pressure. We've known that there's been an increase, and I think we've thought there was some justification for some additional support in the field. However, after further discussion with everybody involved, it's quite a bit of opportunity, we think, in other areas that we haven't been able to get to, that we think would be beneficial. So I wanted to open up that discussion, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to hear from some of the concerns that you guys have raised to the group. If you would, maybe highlight some of those issues that you're experiencing. And either of you can chime in.
Just the workload's just overwhelming.
Okay.
We're trying to do everything we can to try to keep up with all our new meter specs and all the work orders the office is putting out. It's just super overwhelming with just us two.
Okay. JJ, did you want to talk about the importance? You were talking about an example of how, if we think about this investment that we've made in replacing meters, sometimes we forget it actually pays for itself several fold. Will you give the example that you raised the other day?
We contract out meter works, we do residential meters, but commercial meters such as parks, churches, schools, we do that. I think we made a push last couple of years, so you've probably seen the difference in revenue
We have
compared to water loss.
substantial.
We need to stay on top of that.
Yeah, and JG told me a specific example, the Magna Elementary. They saw a fourfold increase in usage from changing out that meter.
Wow.
And how long's that meter been in?
That meter was 2 years.
The new one? Yeah.
2 years?
Yeah. So that we've replaced it. So it's been in, we replaced it 2 years ago.
I had an existing meter in the basement that they were reading, and then once they moved it, put the meter outside and put the new meter in, they come to find out
It was under reading them by 4 times.
And it's funny you said that, speaking of that, back in the day, and that was way back in the day, when I worked as a meter reader here, a lot of times you couldn't get down the basement to read the meter because no one was around to let you down.
Yeah, and I think that's
So you kind of calculate what you thought they used and what they really used, I mean, and
I think that's an important point. And as we were talking as a group, the meter reading has evolved, right? The whole thing has changed from a real labor-intensive operation on the reading itself side, and it's gradually shifted as we get automatic meter reading, which we're doing, and eventually we'll transition to automated meter reading with the AMI, and that's all more like real-time information, right?
and one of the, oh, sorry.
So a concern is, that's come up and we've discussed is, do we have the demand? Because as technology advances, labor of actual meter reading goes down. But what it does is it just shifts. There's so many opportunities that opens up to cut down on water loss, identify people that are maybe have leaks, identify people that are just overusing water. It has the opportunity to make sure our meter replacements are going. Our target is every 10 years a meter's replaced. We're not quite there yet, but we are close. And if you think about it, as you get more meters, you have to do more replacements to stay at that 10-year cycle.
So getting back to replacing meters, and I'm just saying back when I did it many years ago, I mean, that's a job. And especially if you got the contractors that put in your connections, and if they're not right, that can be, I mean, that can be hell. And like you say, change the meters out, and you start changing them, and you get going and going and going. I mean, that's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work.
So as we've been talking, we think that this third person would actually have just a little bit of a shift in responsibilities. From this discussion, the two in the field could most likely keep up with meter replacements, or repairs and new meter sets. The sampling program, they do all of the sampling for our drinking water quality. They do all of the notifications right now for delinquencies, shut-offs, they have to go turn them back on. They are responsible for if we're going to do notifications for road closure, or sometimes that falls on the construction crew, but we thought they have to deal with all the work orders in the office. Someone that could spend a little bit more of their time in the office and doing all those paperworks and the customer direct interaction, we think there's a lot of room for improvement in our customer noticing. When we're going and changing out a meter, or hiring meter works to do that, they're knocking on the doors and trying to let people know that the meter will be off. But are we hanging a door knocker?
I thought it was somebody she went down.
there could be a lot of improvement, and we could hang the door knocker on every door, make sure it's there. On the construction crews, when we have a water main break or we're making a repair, more noticing, this person could do that noticing. There's opportunities in the office that Lee Isle has discussed in terms of reviewing some of that data, determining work orders, more of the leak notification. So it would be somewhat of a shift of more of the customer interaction, but they could still do some of the field work. Do you guys think that's the best approach?
Well, and I think one of the hardest things too is it's a shut-off day, and you're out shutting off deals, then you're out replacing meters, you're down fixing the meter, and you get a phone call, you need to go turn this house back on. I think if we can just allocate it and make it work, leave it up to you guys, come up with a plan that will work and make sure we're serving everything we need. I have no problem with it. And how do you feel, Jeff and Danny?
I'm the same way.
I think so.
It's got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and I think there's.
And
a
it's not
concern-
I don't see any time soon where the letdown's gonna.
Yeah, the thing is any slowdown we were to see on new sets, we could shift that consulting that we do with MeterWorks to in-house. We also have a lot of work to do on inventory specifically, and they could assist in inventory during downtime and getting that inventory side up to.
Who responds to leaks?
The construction crew does.
The construction
Well, I
crew
mean, if
does.
somebody calls and says, I
But
think
the-
I've got a leak.
So
Oh,
if
on the
somebody
meter
calls
side.
into the office, they'll go do the leak check. On what's suspected as a customer site, right?
Right.
If it's suspected as a main,
Right.
they'll direct it to,
They still may go out and do the initial
mostly,
analysis.
unless it's obvious, yeah. Unless it's obvious in the street.
Right.
I think as the AMI goes, I envision this person, if they had some office skill set, they could be that person that's doing some of the preliminary analysis of that work to look at the data and help identify
already
leaks
see.
proactively,
Right.
going
Yeah, and
through.
notify the customer.
They go through the flags, they're calling the customers, they're coordinating work service orders. It could relieve a lot of the burden of that work on the office staff that really, they don't have as good of an understanding as these guys do out in the field.
Right.
And know what to look for, and so we see a lot of opportunity there if the board was supportive in it.
I'm totally fine. I think we're to that point now that we need to move forward and move ahead on a lot of stuff. And I know, there's some of us think it's the old, we're still a small town. Well, unfortunately, that isn't so. And the growth is gonna continue for some time till we're built out, and it'll be when I'm dead and gone. But I think we should move forward and let him go ahead and hire a person.
I wanted to make sure Raymond, he had expressed some concerns like I had initially. What do you?
Yeah,
where
we
you
had
at?
concerns of keeping them busy, but looking at with the aisle and talking with you and talking with these guys, I think we can justify hiring somebody in this position. I think it'd be a good idea. I did have some concerns that it was gonna give them too much time on themselves, that, well, okay, now we got somebody taking care of this, and now we can kind of slack off, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it's gonna actually increase more work than I think that they're thinking that they're gonna end up having, because I'm seeing MeterWorks going away pretty soon, and these guys doing nothing but complete set meters.
Yeah, and obviously you'll have someone that can cover you when you're not able to do it.
But you know what? And I'm just gonna throw this out there, but I wanna put a figure to that. What's the cost of us using MeterWorks over our people use? I'd like to see what the cost, if we're money ahead by contracting or us. I think when there's times that we have spare times, I don't have a problem, but I do have a problem that I don't want that to be
Yeah,
you know, their full-time
Right,
that's doing that.
crush, because now we're letting other things go.
right, right, we have to find that right balance.
And like I said, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. I just don't wanna get phone calls, you know, saying this and this and this. I'm gonna let you guys put the plan, and then you bring the plan back to the board.
I do think we acknowledge that, you know, a former, member of that team put more emphasis on the customer service side and the interactions, which he was really, you know, that person was really good at. But sometimes, you know, that came with a cost of efficiency. And so I think we're not in that situation with our team now. We really got a team that,
So I have a question here. So, you know, we're, as, like I said, the old days, things were, back then was busy, but not like it is now. But have we ever thought about doing what they did back when, 83, when I worked here, about maybe hiring a couple part-time meter readers for just summer help only? You know, I mean,
that was my first thought.
but I mean, no, I'm just saying, I still want to proceed on hiring this third person, but I'm just thinking down the road, if in the summertime with everything going, you got everybody going here and going there, maybe, you know, if we're to the point we might want to maybe hire a part-time meter work,
for
and then
sure.
that way, if a job opens up, they, you know, they have an opportunity to apply for it, and that's just a thought.
I think what we used we didn't use part-time a whole lot when I got here, but when I think they were using the part-time for replacing those meters. So it kind of went from part-time summer to MeterWorks, to do all those replacements. We would have to evaluate the difference between the labor costs.
Right.
And benefits.
Right.
With, just like you said, the cost of the MeterWorks. So to bring a part-time person in just to help them, I think you're better off with the full-time employee.
Okay, no, and I understand. I'm just saying, if, once we get this third guy in place, if down the road, you know, maybe,
Sure, yeah, to do those
because the summertime's a lot, of course, crazy, winter is too, but I'm just thinking, and I understand it'd be neat to have a person that all they did shut-offs, turn them on, because it's just, you get out there and you get frustrated. It's like, geez, I can't even get here to fix this, and I've got to go turn this water back on.
And I think that
on that, go ahead.
okay, having that third person, I think is gonna be a lot of helpful. So if they can get a hold of this third person and get a hold of them to go do turn-ons or shut-offs, and these guys won't be as bothered as much, so they can actually
Right.
complete some of the work that they're starting and finishing.
Right.
We had a discussion on that. With MeterWorks, it's the equivalent of 4 months of a person full-time, or they bring 4 people out for about a month. So that gives the board a little bit of an indication. It could be a part-time person for the summer.
So I have a question on that. So with meter work setting our meters, have we had any issues like
Yes.
they're leaking and, okay,
Not forgetting to turn them on.
People in the shower, I mean, those are hard to avoid, but at least if afterwards they had a door knocker that said, you know, we were here setting a meter, it's an explanation instead of just, you know.
or if you set that door knocker the day before,
Yeah.
because,
Yes, we could plan those out better.
Yeah, they set them on the door.
because John was in the
But then
shower.
this hour, your meter will be being replaced.
Yes, there could be a lot more planning there, absolutely.
So, yeah, and like I said, you guys know what we need to do.
So,
Just keep us updated.
if the board supported, we would propose moving forward with generating a job description. It's still the same title, but it might have a greater shift on customer service side as the primary responsibilities, but certainly has to be able to perform all of them.
So I have a question. This comes over to legal counsel, Nathan. If he gets this all generated, you know, and everything, could Clint poll each one of us instead of waiting a full month to approve this in where he could poll us with phone calls saying, okay, I'll email you a copy. And then we say, yes, go, you know, we're all aboard, or do we
Yes.
have
I see this position as being.
to ratify it, I should say?
Then we
as the
can
general
ratify it
manager
at the
to
end of the
hire. And this is something you could do on your own, but
Yeah.
you're coordinating with the board, getting their input. And so I think you could put together the job description and then send it to the trustees via email for them to review and comment. But I don't think it requires board ratification.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Clinton, do you concur?
I do, I like the idea of everybody having input, especially when it was brought to the board, you know, so.
And this is awesome, good today to bring these guys in because, you know, then we can all hear the great and the bad.
I think that's all, unless you guys have anything else. And I don't know that we formally introduced, just for everybody here, this is JJ and Travis. And they've both been here a long time. How many years, JJ? 24 and 11. So senior folks that we've got on this team, we're happy with. So, thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
See you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if we could go to the HR
Okay, let's move to HR.
on this general manager report. So we've had a internal posting on the HR position that's closed. We did not have any responses in-house. So we were preparing to go outside, and we were introduced to a HR consultant. They're called Hire Integrated. Her name is Emily Rushton, and we spoke with Emily yesterday. She had quite a bit of insight into executive hiring, specifically in HR, and was willing to offer up quite a bit of guidance. But they do a contingency-based program. If we were to formally engage her, it would be a contingency base, to where they would be brought in. They would do a lot of help us narrow down the posting if we wanted to make any tweaks that help provide input on the salary range. They would help with initial screening and background checks, and then they would reach out actively. So a lot of the recruiting has changed, and a lot of these higher level positions, one of the major ways they attract talent now is they go through these social media, especially like LinkedIn. I don't know if you're familiar with LinkedIn. It's more of a business type Facebook. They actively make contacts, and then they reach out direct and say, hey, I've got this position. I think you'd be a great fit. So it's a more one-on-one type. It's like the next best thing, I think, besides a friend, knowing somebody, you know, a referral, where you know that person, well, you get to know them a little bit by their work history.
Is Emily's company a recruiter?
Yeah, so
Yes.
she runs a recruiting company. So that was one of the things we wanted to discuss with the board, is whether the board wanted to go that direction. I don't know if we have in the past. I don't know what the legal requirements are for a local district.
It would just be a normal procurement,
Yeah.
like any other service. I would expect that one probably falls within your small purchase threshold.
Yeah, it's a 25% placement
Yeah, so that would,
of the salary.
And you know, and the thing is, what I like about that is they go out and they find the person that'll actually fit for, you know, to fit with their people
Yeah,
and one thing that we got to remember too, we need somebody that has some experience with
What we do?
with the union.
yeah. So there's two options me and Liao really talked about. We could take the first step. It's really driven by timing. How long do we want to wait? If we want to fill this in the next couple months, we would probably want to go this direction. If we're okay with taking the risk of going through a 2 to 3 month window and we're unsuccessful, then we could always go this route afterwards. It's just a matter of, do we feel like the benefit of time is worth some investment? Because I think, talking with Emily, if we were to go to this direction, even if a referral came directly to one of us, we're obligated to route it through them, and they ultimately get that fee because they're still providing services.
Well, the thing is, so this is a question I have. Are you equipped, do you know enough about HR?
No.
Do you know enough about HR to, myself, I think we need to go this direction because we need someone that's professional. We need someone that's out there and work it. You guys can't work it because you guys got enough on your plate. Am I right? Because that's why we're going the direction we're going.
Right.
I think because you're saying that we
Right.
need an HR person. So really, we need to give it to somebody that has the expertise to do this job.
Yeah.
And go out and let them come out and they'll do the interviews. And if we have legal counsel, we need help from them, we've got them. But I personally, myself, I've seen other businesses do that and it's worked out perfect. And they find the fit for the business. And one of the things I'd like to see is maybe we got somebody on the west side here
Yeah.
that could totally,
Yeah, that's what-
and bring it into our community, you know, that, so when
Yeah.
they're out there, someone says something about Magna Water, she says, oh, by the way, or he knows, says, oh, by the way, this is this.
Yeah, I was very impressed that she brought up a lot of the things that we've been thinking, you know,
Oh, good.
like West Side Focus, she can put a specific target in her reaching out to her network to people that are, you know, have lived along the west side. That could be some benefit in terms of making sure the personality fits, understands the, because the majority of our makeup of our team, the majority is grown up out here, live out here. So that is something to consider, and I thought that was good that she picked
Well,
up
I think,
on that.
I think that'd be good. What I worry about is, I mean, the good part is you guys get to put all your input in. The thing I always worry about, in the past, we've made selection on people and we aren't thorough enough checking
Right.
it out.
Right.
So this should help
That should help with
our
that.
team a lot. So I think
Absolutely.
that's gonna be,
And to that point, I think having that independent buffer,
yeah.
candidates are more honest
Yeah.
with the intermediary, and she can then in turn share what she can share.
I think it'd
You
be a
know,
real plus for you guys.
There is some benefit to it, but it's a significant investment.
Yeah.
You know, on $100,000 salary, that's $25,000 that,
That's quite a bit.
there is a guarantee. So if that person doesn't work out within a 90-day period and we're not happy, they will get a replacement at no extra charge.
Do they do backhoe training too?
Somebody would do it for
So-
25,000.
There is some interest.
We waste more than that.
The one thing she did that kind of I thought it was reflective of her honesty. She did say there is a lot of interest for HR manager positions, so she doesn't think that we're going to have a hard time getting interest, but finding the right candidate, she did say, with the experience that would be helpful of a union and this West Side kind of approach. There is some things that she highlighted that I thought, ooh, you know,
Well,
There might
the thing is, if we're not gonna find someone that has, union experience, then we shouldn't even be looking at it, because that's a critical point, is to have an HR person that has some experience with unions. And, cause if you don't, we're gonna run into a problem, then where are we gonna be going? Right, to legal counsel.
But they can brush up, they can get themselves up to speed.
No, I understand that too.
yeah, the one concern I have about that is a lot of times unions are with bigger organizations. So a lot of times you might be, if you're limited to that, you might be talking someone with experience in 5,000-10,000 people, employees or more.
Right.
So coming from that size to a size of 30 to 35 in the next few years, that's also a big difference too.
So also, if I'm not mistaken, if there's things on there that you don't want, they can throw it out and it'll reduce the cost.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But we do have a draft of a service agreement. If we can have our attorney review that and see if there's any concerns, red flags. I didn't see anything that jumped out
Okay.
at me, but.
So would they be, what other, I mean, it's real important what we're trying to find out, HR, what else would we use their service for? Who else would?
I think their background was administrative, HR, healthcare. It was, I didn't see as much like technical, like engineering or operations, but some, well, I take that back, some industrial manufacturing.
Okay.
So there could be a potential for,
They do IT.
Probably.
I think so. I think I remember IT.
But would you use them for, like, if you were gonna put another man on the crew or something?
I don't know that,
That's all.
I don't know that.
You
that
probably
might not
let
be
your
their-
HR person do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and
okay.
like I said, also too is that person that we get needs to fit what we're looking for. Because if they're only gonna fit 3 things out of 10, then it's not worth it.
Right.
We just wanna make sure if they can do the majority of the stuff, because, you know, there are gonna be HR stuff, but there's gonna be lots and lots of more other stuff than just HR.
Right.
This would be a pretty
Is
good
it-
bite and a bullet.
Is it damaging to us if we try to put it out ourselves for 2 weeks?
I don't wanna do that. I don't, because there you go, that's taking you away from your work, and you're the one that's actually saying that you're overburdened with what you got. And same with you, am I right, or am I not hearing the story correct? Because that's why you guys are telling me you need an HR person to do this stuff, because you're really busy, and that's why we've been trying to kinda take things out of your hands so you can just focus on
Right.
being the controller.
I think,
Plus, there's so many legal,
And there's a lot of legal aspects to
then I know
I,
we need to.
would we
comply.
know in 90 days, is that enough time to evaluate, an HR person?
I asked her what her time frame was. She thought a 6 to 8 week process with her from advertisement to hire.
Right, but I mean, is 90 days long enough to
Oh,
evaluate
evaluate the-
a new person in this kind of
Yeah,
position?
we might want to ask her to
Yeah.
go to our window, 180.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I was
We could
thinking
ask,
6
that's a
months.
concession she might be willing to make.
Okay, don't you think?
yeah, oh, I
Good
agree.
idea.
That's a little different situation
Right.
than just
It
an
matches
employee
up
that
with
comes.
our period.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's a good
idea.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So do we have the motion on this to Nathan, to give him approval to,
Yeah, I think it never hurts to motion for something like this. I think this is an executive position.
Yep.
Now that's something we might want to consider in the annual meeting next week, but we probably would want to include that. So there's a little bit of gray area right now as to where this position falls. But I say we just treat it as an HR position, which requires board approval.
okay?
Now, we've already talked about this and authorized it, but I think consistent with the board's input in hiring those executive decisions.
Yeah.
Or positions, it would make sense for you to authorize the use of a recruiter.
is most everybody comfortable then using her service? Does everybody evaluate? Have you evaluated that enough? You feel pretty comfortable?
I do,
with it?
I feel comfortable.
And this, I think, falls within the small purchase threshold too,
Yeah,
so
it does.
it doesn't.
So we don't
require
have to-
bidding.
So we could move forward as.
How do you feel about it?
If we had your.
Feel good.
You okay with it?
In the small purchases section, Nathan, doesn't this say something, if it's over 5, we have to have at least 2 quotes?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know if this is applicable to this type of service or not.
Yeah, I think it's.
well, there are exceptions in there for sole source procurement if it's something that's unique. And I guess that would be the question. I haven't obviously investigated this, but
See, we need more.
We'll do that investigation and.
yeah, we just need to follow the procurement process. What I would maybe suggest is, it looks like you found someone that's qualified. There's a chance that this is so specialized, this type of recruiter, that it may be sole source. But we just need to go through the checklist to make sure we do that. But that's, what I would recommend for the motion is that the board authorize Clint to go through the procurement process to hire a recruiter
Okay,
to select this HR person. And it doesn't need, it shouldn't be specific to this person.
Right.
okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve Clint moving ahead with this procurement service to get feedback or get an actual contract from them, and we'll move ahead on it.
I'll second that.
In motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
And one thing too, Clint, you might wanna do is you guys invite her out and let her tour your facility,
Yeah,
just so she knows what, because, you know, Dallas is gonna have some things at his area, Raymond's gonna have some things, you're gonna have some stuff, that I think it's very important that she's not coming in blindfolded.
Absolutely.
Because she might get there and say, you know what, maybe I can't provide this.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think it'd be very good to get her out and
that's a good idea.
tour the
Before
facility.
we're under contract, yeah.
And,
I
yeah,
think
before,
that would be excellent.
I think that would be perfect, and then, are you guys okay with that? I mean, are you okay with that? And then that way, she's not coming in blindfolded and like, oh, I didn't know you guys did this, or I didn't know you did that. And Leal, she can, you know, kind of, because like I said, Leal's been our HR person and been 11 hats, and,
Right.
and, you know, we want to get her down to that one hat so she can just focus. And this might, I mean, get down to where, I know you're focused, but down to where you know what you gotta do, not have to worry about someone coming in and say, I need vacation.
Yep.
Okay, hold on, let me go back to my. Okay,
The other, on staff engineer, Trevor has done quite a bit of work on that position. You wanna describe where we're at, Trevor?
Yeah, we've got a draft job listing, and that's in the packet. The one thing we, have also done is kind of gone through other job postings for similar positions at cities, at consultant firms, and to get an idea of current salaries or different engineering levels. We've kind of set the job description up, and then it had, 1 to 3 different levels of engineer within there. I think our initial goal would be to find someone who's within, an engineer 1, which would be, 1 to 2 years of experience, not a PE at that point, and but also have the ability, and set up some salary information for an engineer 2 or 3 if, and that, we maybe it's not 3, maybe there's 2 levels.
What we discussed is, if, say we go ahead and hire a staff engineer, what are they, what schedule are they on? Because a lot of times what happens is that staff engineer gains experience over 4 years, and then they take their PE license, and now all of a sudden they get into a different category.
Yeah.
And so if you have that kind of pre-planned, they know what those ranges would be, and it's not a negotiation per se. It's a schedule.
okay, so, I'm just throwing this out there, and just, you guys all pipe in when you need to, but, I'm struggling a little bit on this, and the reason why, and maybe I need to be educated more, but what's the cost that's gonna cost us for someone like that versus us contracting as we had with Epic? Because when you hire somebody, now you got benefits, you got all that, and I see down the road that, but for what we're going through, and we know that interest rates jumped up, a lot of builders ain't pulling no more permits right now, so it's gonna pull back. It's gonna pull back. So my philosophy is I think that we should really weigh the costs out with what we spent, what it would cost us to hire our own employee versus contracting out. Now that's just, and you can educate me, and maybe, I'm missing something, but to me, I think.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I think the thought process here is that there's so much value in Trevor's skill sets and abilities to the company as a whole, in other departments, operations, with modeling. We have an opportunity to really advance and take our operations to a new level. If Trevor were to have some more time available in his day to really dive in and solve operational help from the technical side of the operations out. A good example is when we had that valve on 8,000 West, the operations team had a lot of different ideas on what was going on. But until Trevor was able to spend some time with the model, we didn't really understand fully what was happening in the field.
And I'll
And that
agree with
was-
that, yeah, cause it was unreal. He pulled that model up, showed us the pressures in that area and what we were doing wrong. And was, like I say, him having another assistant with him, I think would be great. That opened up the door for him to do so much more on the operations side and treatment plant side, I think everywhere.
Yeah, and a lot of the demands on, I've been in that position, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the demands on that job can be done with someone at a lower skill set, but there's just such a lot of demands on it that he has to do all those, all of the construction management and coordination with all of the consultants. And then he's our GIS person, point of contact, and there's all kinds of opportunities for integration of GIS into each department. We just see a lot of value if we could reduce the workload that doesn't need a ton of like experience and technical background that a staff engineer typically could do. Now, we can certainly approach that in different ways. We could hire that out, but we think the best option for the district is kind of like we've been doing with other areas. Like say, for example, the accountant position is a position that can train under the controller, and eventually with the idea that they could transition into a controller position. The same thought would be a staff engineer in the district engineer role. A staff engineer would get that training so that they could cover and transition. That's part of that thought process, but that we want to make sure the board was aware.
I kind of think that's what it's like, an apprentice. And so I see what you've got here, Trevor. I would never expect a engineer, third level engineer to come in. To me, I was expecting it would be like a first level engineer that knew how to do all the things that this department requires.
Yeah.
As far as GIS and that kind of stuff. And then I think you were gonna have to bring him in and give him the experience.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of, supervision, but like Clint said, drafting a letter, doing initial red lines, some correspondence,
Meeting,
tracking
coordinating
project
meetings, yeah.
progress, a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And teach them about design and
Yeah.
details and specifications and.
And that's the other thought is, the concern is downtime. And we have so much design and construction at all times.
Right.
If you have downtime, it's the design team, we take on more of the design work.
Yeah.
There's no reason, Trevor has done a lot of water line designs, he's done sewer designs. There's no reason if there was downtime that we can't stay busy.
There is potential if we had AutoCAD that we could do small projects in-house.
Yeah, okay.
So, but this was a future, next year type,
But
so.
When you
we
say
wanted to
about some of these, like he's bringing up like some of this small stuff that we could do inside, I don't know how we can do that because, of manpower.
Well, probably not constructing it.
Okay.
But doing the design.
Okay, inside.
If we had.
I would just like to see what the cost is. I mean, I understand where you want to go with this.
Certainly.
I get it, but I want to just see because now we hire someone in, now we're gonna have to buy this, and that all comes with a cost.
And we can get that to you.
And
For next
I,
meeting.
and where these engineer places have all that stuff already, and I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see the costs on it and see where we're at, and
I agree with that. I'd like to look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Bunch of numbers in my calculator. Based on what we're hiring the ITs out right now, and the billing rate of a E1 For what it's worth. That's
Yeah,
fine.
it's usually about a 3-to-1 markup, right? That's a
Well,
good,
thanks.
that's a good,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, that's a
I mean,
good conversion.
It certainly doesn't take away, I don't see, to be frank, I don't see much of a reduction of consultant services with this. It's, again, do we want to move to the next level of operation is what I really see, is where we really step up our operational game
Yeah,
and integration of services. That's where I see the real value, because Trevor is really good at that,
yeah.
far better than I was.
I just don't want to get to where we're in a situation where and again, and I'm just throwing this out there, not saying that it has happened, but I don't want to see where we get to a point where we're like trying to find work to do. You know, and I go back to with Danny about, you know, we keep thinking this is a small company or a small town, which it isn't no more. But we also don't want, I mean, we want to grow into this stuff as we can, not to just get top heavy.
Right.
And, you know, because we fought the issue for a long time on the HR position for at least, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this,
And,
yeah, we can make the decision.
Well, I think this is the initial, you know, take at what the job description would
Right.
be. Like Clint mentioned, this was, you know, tentatively planned for 2023.
right,
So we have, what, 4 months now?
Yeah.
And we can continue to look at it, look at how development progresses and, you know, continue discussion.
Yeah, it's not, we're not asking for a okay.
no, I know, I'm just saying these
I
are
was
some,
hoping it would be like a level 1 engineer that's got all the basics.
That's what we.
But then I was hoping this person could work with Raymond and Dallas
Dallas.
both, and that way gain experience and work with you guys.
Yeah,
Kind of be a liaison and help you.
Yeah, I think that there's also some potential to help with some of the things Rob is doing, you know, GPSing, potentially doing some, you know, low-level inspections when they're ready, you know, if they need to go look at a thrust walk or, you know, a tie-in connection or, you know, some of those things too.
Or even write procedures,
Yep.
help write procedures, things that need to be done.
Absolutely,
Just like we need to notify somebody to knock on the door, you know,
right.
that kind of stuff. I mean, I think it could be a real help to you and learn the ropes. But
I do too. You want to talk about the other side of that, just the office space?
Sure. Jump in there.
so getting back that really fast, like Jeff was just saying about writing some of this procurement, and it'd be neat to have like a room downstairs, like a library, where we could put a lot of stuff into it and pull, and I know that stuff changes constantly, but we have that on hand.
Yeah.
So this is also in there, there's a tab that says basement concept. We've taken the design, you know, the plans from the basement and fit in some concepts for secure file storage, just general storage room, you know, the Christmas things and cleaning supplies or whatever goes in there. Currently, over here in this corner by the bathrooms, that's where Rob's inspection desk is. You know, so there's a second desk there, some plan review tables. And then this space here is where we have a lot of the shelving and the metal file cabinets.
oh, right there. Going blind up there trying to see that.
So this would kind of give us, you know, set us up, the future office space there where I've got a table and a couple desks and a plan review. Those are things we wouldn't necessarily put in right away, but, you know, potentially that table that we talked about for different, you know, smaller.
Oh, yeah,
group
so I
settings,
didn't, so
little meetings.
I just want to excuse you for just, I forgot to address this to the board. So I was up here last week with Clinton. I can't remember what was talking about, but you know, they have people, engineers come out and they have a lot of plans that they lay out. Well, this table and this just isn't really equipped for that kind of stuff. So I was a little, when we left the old building, there was that big table that I wanted to bring from down there, but me and the previous manager had an argument over it and he won. So it ended up staying, but I feel that it'd be neat to have a room where the engineers could sit around a table, or like the day that I was in here and you guys were having a discussion that brings everybody to the table. So we're all on that same level. And so I'd said to him, it'd be neat to be able to have a room that you could put 10 people up to that table if you had to. But, make sure the room, because they really don't have a conference table to sit down and have a discussion, and I think that'd be a good idea to do that.
I do too. We appreciate that.
Is this table big enough?
Now, he just threw that out there, I hope.
I know, but you've got a 4 to 6 table. That table looks like it's only like 4 by 8.
Yeah.
Big enough to roll plans out and to have discussion?
I mean, if you had a smaller group, if it was, say, the contractor, the inspector, the engineer, and, operations, yeah.
We could have, one of the ideas to address that was to change this table.
See, and I brought that up too, if we don't want to come with a cost, let's change this out. And then we could also make this like a conference table where everybody could,
If it had options, if there was some pieces
that we could pull out.
and pull out. That's another.
So I think, down here might be for, internal, meetings, discussing projects, potentially bringing in outside, but not a large table, not a large,
Yeah,
We could, if we were to lose the 2 office spaces and use that whole side, you could use that as a large.
well, I just figured you can encroach a little bit, but if you've got a big enough table where everybody's across from each other, you can lay out a pair of plans, you can kind of scoot them back and forth, but I think a bigger table would probably be better.
See, and I agree. I think that table at least needs to be able to sit. If you decide to have a meeting with your man, or of course you have one down at your plant, but where you can at least put 10 people around it. And, cause I always look when I do something, I always look at what's the future gonna be. So in that way,
there's some.
One thing we could do is we could that could be a future layout for that, but you could just put the bigger table in and that's gonna satisfy for quite a while.
Yeah, it would. Absolutely.
I'm just thinking maybe an 8 by 10 table, so you can set a set of plans in it, and then everybody could kind of look, or even a projector down there where you could
Yeah, that
present
space,
stuff.
that's a good idea too.
Yeah,
that space is definitely not set. I think we would want the 2 desks, in this top corner where they can sit, but down here, that is definitely a space we can figure out.
I think
what
you've got a
works
good layout
best.
there.
And I just agreed with what Jeff said is about, you do that, it'd be neat to have where you have a TV or something where you can hook up and it's up there so everybody can look at it,
A great idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the
We have a
bathrooms
TV.
already existing down there?
What's
Trevor?
that?
Are the bathrooms already existing?
Yes.
Yep, full bathroom.
And the red will be our secured area?
Yeah, so
File.
that was one,
Yes.
this has some security improvements. Do you want to talk through that?
Yeah, I think, the spacing of between the security storage and the regular storage, right now that's about 23 feet. I've just split them in half. That wall can shift depending on what's stored. Then we also have a door in front of the safe, so that anywhere down here, these open spaces, the safe would have security pad, door in front of it.
That's something we need.
That
We're
would be
missing
for-
right now.
In front of the mechanical room and also the IT server.
So if you move that door to the north, what does that do? Is that too close in front of the safe?
We would have it open outward, and it would be a similar door
Double
to
door.
the.
Yeah, and what I was wondering though, is you're giving people access to the safe if they're going in the mechanical room or whatever. If you move that door just in front of the safe, is that?
Yeah, we could check. That's pretty tight.
So I have a good
still
one.
open?
Why don't you right here take this off and put a safe door on it? Then that way you'd have all that for safe,
Yeah.
and you'd have a
How
safe
full
door.
is the
and-
safe now, Leo?
I think
It's
our,
not jam-packed, but we've got a few things.
I think our main concern is having record of who's accessing too.
Right.
You know, I think that's something we don't have right now.
I wonder how much a safe door would cost to be, just put that whole
Well,
room
wouldn't you
so.
have to- Is there concrete around that area now?
No.
You would have to.
We could actually move that safe over to a concrete wall, you know, but,
Oh,
The back is the only thing that's on.
I thought you were talking about sealing that, well, not sealing.
well, no,
but
I
put a
was,
board-
that's what I was
board there
originally, but when you, yeah.
And make the whole thing a safe,
I guess
Yeah.
with respect to
Concrete
that,
up,
could it go in the file store, the secure file storage? And
probably.
have it all the secure stuff in the same room?
Nah, the only worry about that is we might have like we might hire someone to scan,
Sure.
you know.
Okay.
I think that should be separate.
The only thing is the ceiling usually, if you turn that in, the whole thing where the safe's sitting into a safe room,
Yeah.
you have to grout the ceiling.
Right.
It has to be 100% fireproof, which we can do, but, and
Yeah, I mean, we can explore the idea of moving that door back.
Yeah, it would.
So the mechanical and electrical
Because it's
room
kind of
is
worthless right now,
accessed.
because
Yeah, I like that. That's a good comment.
Leon brought a good point up, like right now, where the safe's at, it's kind of worthless because you can't really use anything around it because.
right.
And, yeah, so
Wasted space around it.
it's wasted.
I don't know what a safe door costs, but.
Yeah, we can explore some options to address that. But yeah, we feel like we need to address safe security of that and record of who's accessing it.
If you turn that all into files, then you have 3 walls.
Right.
Access at a
Yeah,
glance.
you get quite a bit more room.
Yeah, and that's how we have at our office. It's so much nicer. You could just, at a glance, you can look at where you need to go.
Kind of like our old office.
Since you're in the
Yes.
safe, yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Anyway.
explore that. Absolutely.
Just, you know, the next pages were just examples of so how it looks down there right now. You know, we've got a open ceiling, the walls.
Now, could you use that open ceiling down there?
I would like to. And the
I kinda-
reason, you know, when I walk down there and I see, you know, some of the venting, you know, levels like
Yes.
here and here, I can reach up and touch those. So if that ceiling was down to
Right.
that level
Right.
all the way around, it
It'd
would
be kind of low.
it
I
may
kind of like
feel
that open
claustrophobic.
ceiling.
Well,
So,
we could paint it though, too.
Yeah.
It really helps when you paint it.
yep, so the third page, kind of shows some other offices as well as our carpet hallway. We want to do the same square carpet, type finish and walls.
We don't want to do concrete.
But we do want to, paint that, you know, a gray color or white color.
I'm just being sarcastic.
Yep.
We would need to insulate some of the piping and then paint it.
Yep,
But,
Yeah, and-
because
and
you
I-
can hear it running.
but leave it open.
The rain comes
you
down
can.
through the floor drains.
Oh, well, you could
I
insulate
like
those.
the looks of this one.
But you might want to
Yeah, so
put,
do
I
I.
don't know how the echo is down there, but we found in some of them, you can put some insulating panels up there and it helps any echoing you might have. I'm sure it's not a problem,
But yeah, if you're supportive of leaving it open style and some type of, you know,
I like that.
insulating, covering
like
some
that?
pipes,
Yeah.
painting
Paint
it.
it white, up in there like.
Well, you could even keep it, that's, I mean,
so what is our time frame on this, Trevor? Is this
think
something we
that
were
may
gonna
be
do in
something
January or
to
we're gonna
talk
do,
about.
what's our time frame?
I think honestly, we should go ahead and if we approve it, we should move forward and start getting bids on this
Yeah.
stuff. And hopefully,
This is the type of project, I think you could split this up.
Where do you-
right? We
what
don't
do you
need a
the
general.
safe? What do you?
Or do
so
you
what we
think we
thought
need a
about
general?
doing is see, have you been downstairs and seen
That's gonna be a question.
So you'll see.
Yeah, I think we need, you know, if it's an architect or an engineer to help us finalize the plan.
Yeah.
You know, call out doors and, you know,
Okay.
finishes and things.
I think finding somebody to do it
Here.
will be the challenge.
Yeah,
But I think probably in another 2 months, it's gonna wind down.
might see
And
some
I'm
slowing.
Yeah,
Where's the
well,
bed going?
cement isn't even available right now unless you are an active concrete guy that's using it, but I mean, some of this is kind of specialized. I mean, you know, to make and there again, you could have we could sub it ourselves as far as get a guy come in, give us a bid for to
Safe-
turn that into a
safe
safe room. Yeah, there's probably people that specialize in that,
Yeah.
but as far as the rest of it.
Right, and then that's where the bid goes.
No. And we're not gonna have a TV down there you can watch cartoons on, although it would be.
If we could definitely work within the budget for the design or any architecture with this budget, but we probably would have a goal of starting a bid in December or November or December with the construction starting
Right.
in the first of the
Okay.
year, if that works. That's maybe a good schedule.
I think we may still have to figure out the storage room sizes,
Yeah.
you know?
So also too, in that storage room, you probably again would want a table put in there, so when you pull stuff out, you have somewhere to put it on.
He's got it right there. Scan table? No?
No, I was thinking about a
yeah.
table,
Oh.
so when they pull things out, they can, set it on the table.
That was kind of we thought we'd need a
He's talking
production
about the
table.
other storage.
Yeah, the
Oh,
other.
the other
yeah.
storage room, yeah.
But no, I think overall, I think this looks really good.
Oh, it
So,
looks
so a
excellent.
question I have for us here, everybody gets their breaks. Does people use this break room? Okay, I just want to make sure that,
There's a lot of use. Do people sit down in there and eat their
No.
lunch?
Occasionally,
Okay, not as much.
okay.
yeah.
Is it just because it's small and it's because the chairs are high?
There's so much in and out, I'm not sure.
Probably because you like to get away.
Okay, that makes sense. I get it. Okay,
Why could we make it better?
well, I just didn't know because I thought it's kind of small, but like I said,
But it is used.
okay.
It is used.
And since you guys went ahead and got more cabinets, it's made it a
Oh, it's
lot nicer.
been way better.
Yeah.
So sometimes, the question I have, Trevor, I look at, say, your secure file storage.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's people that do that, they come in and give you a bid to say, we'll come in and just drop the whole thing, what you want in there. I don't know if there's
There
people.
are companies that do that.
And you might want to reach out to White City. I went up and toured their new facility, and that's when I brought to Clint. I said, we need a room we're secure for these files. Right now, anybody could go down and rummage through if and if we got something in that file that we really, that we don't want them to see, it's nice to secure it. And I did like how Paulina Flint and them did theirs up to White City Water.
I think that'd be great. I'd, want to ask them about the whole process, because they finished their basement.
Yeah, and you could see their layout, and because it's pretty nice.
Yeah, we'll
And of course, their building's half the sizes of ours, but
It's
reach
small.
out to them. That'll give us some good insight in what we're up against. And
give Paul a call and
Okay.
I think, should we make a motion just to move ahead? Okay.
David, sorry, I got him on my, Nathan, I got him on my mind. So do we need to
Yeah, I would
motion?
think, and that's how you have it noticed, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Well, actually, let me see.
It's not in the GM. Did we delve into other items? It wasn't in the GM report. It is in the GM
Basement
report.
is-
it's in the department reports,
It's in it, but it doesn't say discussion and possible.
motion.
So we would need to come back, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that confuses me then. How can we have the motion on the HR when it's not a separate item then?
HR is under administrative, right? Or
Because HR is also, that's
It
something,
had prior approval.
yeah.
True.
It-
Yeah.
And that's just direction that you're
Yeah.
asking for as opposed to.
So can
spending
we
the
give
money.
like prior approval and then they can bring it back and?
Well, we still have to have a plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So
There's
we're
gonna be
just-
opportunities to approve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just had to ask.
Okay,
Other parts, Mr. Chairman, if we can highlight a couple other things that, on the GM report, I know this is quite lengthy today. Just wanted to highlight that we've also got a concept, we're gonna have a concept site plan and a training facility next time. Do you wanna highlight there's been quite a few discussions amongst the team to address, in more detail, a training program that's more formal.
Wish this would zoom in better, but, the plan would be to use the property directly behind here. We have all of our equipment that would be used is housed up at this side. Back here, we would, put in some different piping, saddles on it, setters, valves, fire hydrants, potentially some other, mock utilities of maybe some communication or fiber, and, so they have the ability to dig and also, get the fine movements.
Sharpen their skills.
Sharpen their skills.
Dig a shallow what I was thinking, have them do a shallow trench and then actually have them splicing pipes together so they're not in a deep hole, but it's mimicking them in a
Yeah.
hole. So then they give them the training, like they're in the hole working, putting piping together, repairs, tapping, just various things that the crew will be doing.
I like that. So that area that you're designed to look for it at, we need to make it so it's big enough so if we wanted to add anything onto it down the road, we could, unless you think would be totally fine.
Still have a lot of property going, if you look from the back of this,
Right.
and it goes all the way back in like a pie shape, so we still have potential areas that we can
Yeah,
actually.
each of these things would be, we're not talking like several hundred feet of pipe.
Right.
So
No,
we
I
do
get
have a
that.
lot of room for a dynamic training
Okay.
area.
I think that'd be awesome.
And the benefit would be that the guys can actually install it all, so they're kind of getting install, and then they're seeing how to repair it, and practicing all of that.
I like that.
And in order to accomplish that, I know there was some discussion about hiring a consultant, but then there's been some challenges from what I understand. Some people have been looking into that, finding the right person. So there was also an idea about rotating the lead men, right?
Yeah, taking the
talk.
3, Clint, Steve and Matt, and have them rotate weekly on training, taking one person or maybe 2 people depending on what's going on repairs in that day, and just taking them and spending half a day or a day with them back in the backyard, teaching them skills on the backhoe. And
So it would be a formalized rotation unless something else emergency came up. There's a rotation schedule for the training, and the lead men all kind of take a turn.
And that's what they
That's
kind of
one
have
option.
right now, Jeff, is they have, Steve's got a log where he's taking each guy, and each guy gets a week on the backhoe right now. That's every one of the new guys. So regardless of what's going on, one day it might be Spencer, Trevor, or Travis, and then Chio. Each one gets a week on the backhoe, so they are getting time on the machine, and they are learning. But like I say, they can build in this yard back here and training facility. It's going to really help them a lot.
I just know there's times that you're trying to train somebody to run a backhoe and they just can't figure it out.
Yeah.
They just, we may not ever run across that, but when you do, you gotta say, hey, hold it a minute. We gotta do something different.
And like I say, I used to be able to run John Deere, like with my eyes closed. Get on a John Deere now, forget it, but put me on a case, I'm great. Get back on John Deere control, I can do it, but it's gonna take me a minute
Oh,
to
yeah.
get the feel of it, because they're the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's just like anybody, it's gonna take time to get the feel of running a machine.
That's what happened with me. I could run John Deere with my eyes closed. Then we started getting into the Mitsubishis, and holy cow, they were way different.
Opposite, exactly.
Oh, I had a hell of a time.
Yeah, but you end up getting it, but it took you
Oh,
a
yeah.
minute.
Yeah. I'm still not as fast as I am on John Deere, but
All right, unless there's anything else on that, the last thing, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to show is, we got a draft back of the video.
Yep.
You wanna pull that up? From the reuse open house, we'd like to, this is, if you have any input on this final, production, we can get back with the person that put this together. But this is the final draft before we would plan on releasing this.
reuse water is treated wastewater or effluent. Our reuse system is unique in that it uses a cloth media filter to filter the effluent water. You know, for our project, we've worked alongside of Bone and Collins and Stantec, and they've been great partners in design of the facility as well as getting approval from the state of Utah.
We provide drinking water, secondary water, and sanitary sewer service to about 34,000 customers. We provide our own sources, the majority of our own sources from wells. We also operate a brine pump station where we send all of the minerals that we remove from the drinking water, and we pump that down to our wastewater treatment plant. When we get this reuse project going that we're working on, we'll have the full water cycle, because once that wastewater is treated for reuse, then we're going to send that to our irrigation system, which we call a secondary water system, for outdoor irrigation to a portion of our customers.
The project will be funded through a $4.9 million grant from Title 16 Bureau of Reclamation, and then 45% with user rates and 39% from impact fees.
And what this does is allows us to continue to grow in a responsible way. It's exciting. It's exciting when we have these kind of infrastructure projects. As a Magna resident, I'm really looking forward to it getting to my house. It's pretty close now.
I got appointed by the governor to sit on the Jordan Valley Water Conservative Board, which I think is big for the district and the town. For the board, and my vision is concern about spending of taxpayers' dollars, our customer service, building communication with the district and the public. And when I say that, we all did it as a whole.
Reusing wastewater offers us the most sustainable source of clean water that would otherwise be wasted, and the ability to meet the current and future regulatory requirements by the state. It's pretty cutting edge. It gives us really something to be excited about, and we're excited to be the ones that get to bring this type of technology to the community.
Well, it's really important right now to conserve water, and this is just a great community event to get residents aware of what they can do to conserve water and how to improve their yards and other ways to help during this really extreme drought.
You know, there's a big concern now where we're in the midst of a record drought. Reusing and recycling water is a viable option moving forward, and there are concerns regarding the sun falls to the Great Salt Lake, but there's also other ways that we can provide water to the Great Salt Lake at the same time reuse our water, which is absolutely necessary for us to continue to grow.
Magna Water District's reuse project will expand and extend water supplies, improve water quality and reliability, and increase drought resiliency for the community we serve.
I like it.
Like it?
I think
Oh,
it's really good.
Excellent.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty high quality for
It was really
for
good.
what we paid.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know we had that many movie stars. You know,
Good job.
really, really good.
We were also
was there
able to
once.
use some of that drone footage that we had previously captured. So a lot of that
You
was
see my
there.
speech in it?
So where are you gonna show this?
So that's the question. If the board's supportive, we could put it on the website. We could put it on Facebook. We could generate a flyer that tells people to go watch it.
I think that'd be.
I think it's impressive.
We can run it out here. So
Yeah.
Anytime we can tell the public what we're doing, it is a big deal.
Because you know what, I had a lot of feedback on that. A lot of people were real happy about that open house, and they got educated. I think next year, though, when we do it, what we need to do is do some banners and put them out there, like over by Cypress Credit and maybe down on 2820, to just kind of, because what we had was good, but, and we did put it out and post it, but a lot of times people forget about that. So if you can have a banner here and there.
like the spaghetti dinner, no one's not knowing about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, and what was real funny is living in this community of 62 years, it was amazing how many people came that I didn't even recognize.
Right, there was a lot of.
And it's more and more that way.
Yeah. So
I thought it was really good.
and you guys done a great job, all of you.
Oh, yeah.
Done an awesome
Great
job
job.
putting
Really
this
good.
together.
Your speech wasn't bad either.
Let's not
No,
talk, let's
no,
talk.
it's good. The only one we couldn't get approval to play was Raymond.
Oh.
He wouldn't let us use his.
My speech in there?
Yeah, I look good.
We should tag Trinity.
But that's my report, unless you had anything
No,
else on
I'm
on
totally,
that. I mean, there's a couple of other items that we need to address that Jeff had raised. I think we've talked about the.
you wanna bring, if you wanna bring them up over here, we
Yeah,
can
we
and
can do those
open,
here.
so everybody knows what we're talking about.
We did the unless you had anything else on the backhoe loader training plan. The yearly vacation schedule for the district. I think that's a good comment. We have these peak seasons like hunting season where we have a lot of time off. We have Christmas, we have start of summer. So we've discussed, Raymond?
I talked to Steve and Colette and asked them to give me a roster sheet showing what days that are gonna be out that way. We're making sure that we have ourselves covered on these hunting time between the bow hunt and the muzzles loader and different hunts, so
Yeah, the bow hunt's coming up pretty quick,
next
isn't it?
coming week.
Ball hunts next weekend.
Yep, so I gotta make sure that we're all covered, so I think between having a lead in each department, we've covered
Right.
all the departments, I think is what it's gonna end up turning out to
Yeah,
be.
it's almost like another mode, like we've talked about on these alternate modes. We have a peak season, peak time off season staffing plan,
Yeah.
and this is what we go to.
Cause we got ourselves in trouble a while back ago on that. And this is and I know this is gonna be your probably less favorite what I'm gonna say, and you probably know where I'm going with this. But I think it's very critical come January, you guys have a vacation sheet and you start with the senior man that has the most seniority and let him go through for his department and pick out what days, what vacation that he wants, and then pass it on down. And then if that vacation that he's picked does not work and there's an opening, then he can slide over into that opening. But I think it's very critical here at the district and management too, that you guys have a vacation calendar with everybody's vacation on there. And if by chance it ain't gonna work come August 11th, ahead of time, but I can do it on the 18th. So, okay, no one's in that slot. I'll slide over in there unless we don't have the manpower, then that person's not gonna be able to take it. But I think it's very critical. And I was told that we had that, but obvious it didn't get done. And I just think it's, it's like, oh, by the way, next week I'm taking it off. I'm taking vacation. I'm really not good about that. I think it needs to be planned vacations.
And what reminded me of that is we all have situations come up, a death or something, and that changes things quite a bit, so.
Yeah, like me, I don't plan my vacations, it's always the spur of the moment.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I've got something to add here. One thing that we've done in the past, and Raymond and Real have helped on this, is we have a quarterly vacation sheet where the first day of each quarter,
Okay.
we are able to pass that out, and then that way we can kind of get the seniority list going, and that gives us an idea of a quarter. And like Raymond says, some of the pre-planned vacation stuff, that's one way that we're able to do that. It's just the harder thing to account on is the people that decide on something last minute. But we've got some steps in place that allow for the senior guys to establish vacation throughout the year, and we just kind of manage it quarterly.
See, and I like that.
I like seniority too.
I like that. See, I didn't know we had that because what I was asking when we had all that problems way back when and we were shorthanded, and I said we need to have a vacation. Everybody needs to have an idea when they're going to go on vacation, and they just slot it in, and maybe they're not going to go, but at least it's down. And if they want to move it and there's an opening in the department and you don't have too many gone, then that person can slot into that deal. But just to say, okay, next week I'm going to be gone.
Yeah.
I don't think that, to me, that don't work very well with me. No.
Well, during COVID, but right now would be a good time to start implementing it.
One of the things we have done, we've got a master calendar, So all of the vacation requests are on a master Google, or I mean, Outlook calendar, and we include all of that for everybody to see that needs access.
Oh, good.
So at any one time, I can look at any week and know who's been scheduled off.
Oh, okay.
So that is different. We've been put that into place, and we have someone actively managing all of the requests, and they're putting it into the calendar. So that's an improvement. And then the quarterly calendar, and then what happens naturally is when they do the call out or the on-call calendar for the year, that's also a time when they talk about vacations. But I think what I'm hearing from the board is they would like to see some more formalized documentation that that's happening. And we can do
Well,
that.
And then, like you said, when they fill out the request sheet for vacation, I have to approve it, and once I
Right.
approve it, then Clint has to approve it. And I've approved it in the past, and Clint has rejected, because I overseen, 2 operators at the same time on vacation, so we kinda watch over each other.
And right now, it's kind of like you say, tough, because you've only got a couple CDL, people, so that's something that you gotta kind of into consideration.
That's very true.
And, but no, I just think it'd be good if, just so people just don't pop in and say, hey, by the way, I'm out of here next week.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I had one more.
Anything else on
Oh, I know what I think, and this has got to go to legal counsel. So in our job description, it says that when you apply for a job at Magnum Water, it says that you are liable. I mean, you will be responsible once you're trained to work on call. Okay. And what we have done is we've turned around and we've let people that don't want to be on call not be on call. They choose, and when they go off on call, they're off for a whole year before they can come back on. So really, I'm kind of confused, because in our job description, when you hire on, it says that you will, once you're trained, you will be on call shift. And I think that's something critical that we need to bring back, that everybody will be on call. I mean, everybody will take a turn for that department to be on call. What do you think about that? Because it's kind of contradicting. It says you will be, and then you come and you say, I don't want to be on call no more. Well, guess what? I'm sorry, but when you hired on at this job and signed this paper, it says that you will work on call.
So the job description isn't quite the same as, say, an employment contract, or I'm not sure what form that they sign. So, and job descriptions can change, and I don't think you guys want to be married to your job description, because you might get somebody on, like Trevor, for instance, like, hey, Trevor can do a lot more stuff.
Yeah, right.
So it's more whatever sort of employment contract or policies that apply. I think the point of the notice is to give people an idea of, look, here's what we expect this is going to be, so they know what they're getting into. But the defining document will be whatever they sign. And so if you guys adopt policies on call, I mean, that's what's going to govern. Because I think,
yeah.
typically, you'll say you'll abide by district policies and rules and regulations, which are subject to change.
We had an incident that happened about 3 weeks ago. Is we have a gentleman that don't want to be on call, and it's a Saturday where a cement truck went in the hole. Well, I roll up there, and it's like he's out there working. It's like, what are you doing? I didn't say that. I thought to myself, what are you doing out here on the job site when you choose to be where you choose not to want to work any on call? So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. Like, I don't have to be on call, but yet they pick. I mean, how did that person come out on call unless they went through the whole list and couldn't find anybody? So then you go over to this person and say, hey, can you come out and give us a hand for today?
Yeah.
But
so it's just a philosophy. I mean, I think it's a philosophy that you choose. We could certainly choose a rigid, no exception approach. I think there's value to that. Everybody knows what to expect. However, like anything, once you do that, there's always situations that lend to that not being as easily enforced, where someone has a personal situation where they can't, say someone that one of their loved ones has a long-term health issue.
Right,
and
right,
now
right.
all of a sudden their circumstances change. Do we wanna say, you choose your job over your family? Or do you want to allow that person?
No, and I agree with you on that.
So it kind of comes down to a philosophy in general. We could take that approach, but I think the negative impact to morale might not be worth, as long as we have a minimum. Now, I think we should, if our participation rate in that on-call program drops below a minimum, it's absolutely gotta be required.
Well, and
it's
the
gonna
thing
go to
is, maybe we need
seniority.
to, maybe we need
We
to
need
take
to
that
define
out
it.
altogether.
That could be another option.
Take that out altogether and don't put them that they're on call. They, you know, you do have a chance to work on call. It's just, I said, you guys can decide that, but I look at it and it's like, this says you have to be on call once you're trained. And then, but then again, you can pull yourself and not have to be on, don't have to come out on any calls.
I think it's the manager's decision though to allow that person to go off.
Yeah,
It's,
and
you know,
we've had that
there's been situations where there's guys on there that we can't let go off right now
Yeah.
because we don't have enough. So we are already doing that at some level to maintain a minimum.
And I've had a couple address me about the board rotating, so it isn't always the top guy that always gets to come out, but that's a union negotiation deal. I mean, because if you're here, you work here, then you drop to the bottom and the next guy there, but then it goes all by qualifications too, you know? If you don't have a CDL driver, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. So, we could change that approach. I would have some concerns about it, but, you know, it
Because
just-
what happens is if you take it out, I get it, then none of them have to work. I mean, none of them, you know, none of them have to come out on.
Yeah, then we would be, if we can't enforce that, we would be in a bad spot.
And then at that point, you're gonna have to put two or three guys on standby every week.
Mr. Chairman, if I might add here, we, as a management team, we've kind of discussed this issue. It's kind of a revolving issue, and, you know, we've talked about potentially how critical it is for the newer guys to be on call, but maybe some of the senior guys, you know, if you put in 15 years on call, maybe you get to opt out of being on call, depending on seniority and the workload at the time, but it's certainly something we're trying to figure out as a team, to
Good
where there's
balance,
a
yeah.
balance between the rigidness of, hey, it's a mandatory thing, but also, you know, given the guys that have been on call for 20 years, you know, maybe if we are opting for some guys to get out, then, you know, that should certainly go to the senior guys.
Yeah.
rather
I think,
than-
Yeah, and if we wanted to provide clarity on that, we could say you have to meet this criteria before you can get off.
My opinion on that, I appreciate the time they put in, 15 years, but I say that person ought to be available for backup if
Yeah.
in a situation,
And they are.
I agree
so
with
they
that.
can back you up.
Yeah,
Like
and
most
maybe
of them are.
Having the experience,
like everything, what I'm hearing is we just need more clarity, because it creates confusion when you feel, if the board feels like the rules aren't being followed, for this situation. We just need more of the situational clarity.
The thing that I'm just saying is where I'm kind of confused at is like, okay, like, guess what? I don't want to be on call anymore. So Raymond, I don't want to be on call no more. So, okay, you don't have to be on call. But then when it comes down to push comes to shove, you know, that guy that don't want to be on call, if you guys go through the call out or whatever, he comes out and works, but he don't have to come out and work. Then what happens? I mean, you know, we're caught kind of against the wall, and not saying I don't think that'll ever happen, but you just never know. I just think that's something down the line that we need to really look at.
And we've had like for instance, Travis, he went on call, but he's always available to come out, and he's actually came out.
That's
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of the thing is, in one of the particular situations, allowing someone to go off call has improved his call out response.
Yeah,
oh, it has?
Yeah.
yeah, because
So
what'll
it's now
happen,
voluntary.
they don't want to
Yeah.
be tied up for the week,
Well, then write
but
it
they're
up that
fine
way.
coming out for one day. So,
And that makes sense too.
yeah, so and it seems to, so far it seems to be working, right, Alice? With these new guys from the treatment plant coming on call, it's really helped out. Now we're down to 8 people on rotation, and it
Yeah,
seems to
when
be
we were
working.
having all those problems, we were at 5.
Yeah.
That was the problem, it was too short, and everybody was going on call too quick.
Yeah.
So they wasn't getting no personal time, and they were actually coming out between the other 4 weeks as well too, so now that, like I said, we've kind of grown, and I think it's helped quite a bit with on the on-call.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I just think, I just want to make sure we're covered because,
Yeah, exactly.
Because we can have a lot of situations can turn ugly.
because we
really
could get in,
fast.
I think this is a legal deal and maybe I'm wrong, but if you turn around, and let me go off call and another guy wants to go off call, you ain't gonna let him. Now, is it discrimination?
Potentially, yeah, if someone says, hey, I have this distinguishing feature, or this protected class, and I'm being discriminated against because I've asked to go off call, and this other guy, there's favoritism, I think that speaks to your point about having criteria, but if you have, look, it's like you have to meet X, Y, and Z to be eligible to take yourself off call, or to request it, subject to manager approval, and that kind of alleviates that concern.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get some clarity in there, is what it sounds like.
Okay, that's all I have on that. Do you have anything?
No, it's been covered
that's
pretty
good.
good.
Sounds really
Okay,
good.
let's move on to your engineering.
Okay, we covered, Mr. Chair and Board, through this discussion, we've covered, a couple of these things. So one thing I wanted to discuss is the Haynes 2 rehabilitation. I'm gonna read a little bit from an email that Kyle Whittison, the well driller and contractor working out there, wrote about this well. So we've been developing this well, putting in a lot of time, and this gives a good idea. It's not up there. I'm not going to put it up there I'll just read a few things. He remembers this well. He knows the person who drilled this well originally 40 years ago.
This is the Haynes number 2?
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and he remembers drilling it 40 years ago?
No, he knows
He didn't
somebody.
drill it,
Oh,
but
oh.
he knows the person who did, and he remembers having a conversation with him just in passing about this well. During that time period, they developed it, but they didn't put in as many hours. Their equipment is a lot better now, 40 years later, for developing wells. So what he said, we know this well was never properly developed. They didn't have the equipment that we have now to put in the energy in the right places and the right amounts. So we are seeing a lot of sand coming in to our well and our gravel pack going down. I mean, we've put in hundreds of bags, 50-pound bags into this well. The gravel pack is filling in those spaces that sand is coming from. Essentially, there's a lot of sand formation back in the well, and as we're dual swabbing and doing this, it's pulling that in, and the gravel pack is filling in that. So
For those that don't know, imagine a plunger in your toilet, pushing all that water, it's squirting out,
and then
on the sides and then coming back in, real violent.
with a lot of force, a lot of velocity. So we are essentially recreating this well. It's already drilled, but we are redeveloping it, or developing it for the first time, essentially.
What do you do in that case when you've got a lot of silt?
Well, through the dual swabbing process, we've seen it start up at 1,000 parts per million, all the way down to 100 parts per million. So you go up, you go down, dual swabbing, then you come back up, dual swabbing, and you track the sand levels. And then over time, you start to see those, we had a dramatic drop from 1,000 down to a couple hundred. And then it takes a little while to get that 200 down to 100, and maybe to 75 or 50. And once it levels out, that area is pretty well developed. So we've gone through that whole process, and now we're working at the top of the well. It seems to be one that's a little more difficult. We're getting a lot of sand. Once we're done with that, we're going to be completely done developing. Should be this week.
So does sand come in at different levels on a well?
Yeah.
Or is it always at the bottom?
No, it'll come in through the screen at whatever interval you're at, your 10 feet that they're focusing on at that point, you know?
Okay.
And then they'll move down 10 feet and they'll do it there.
Do we have liners in ours with gravel pack between the casing?
Yes, and that gravel pack is what, when the sand comes in, it goes out and displaces that.
Yeah,
So
you're-
we've had to add, like I said, hundreds of bags
Hundreds of bags.
of that gravel pack.
Get bigger rocks.
Yeah.
So it's been really great. I think, you know, the well driller, our engineer, I think we all, you know, see this as being a real benefit to that well and to us, because this is going to be a better well than it ever has been.
Okay.
It's going to produce more water. We're going to have less drawdown. I think it's a benefit. It's almost like a replacement well in a way.
Hey, Don?
I'll make a comment. If you can imagine the gravel pack, if the water is coming in at a certain velocity, you pull the silt with it. As the gravel pack comes down and extends out into the aquifer, now when the velocity comes, the area is so big that the velocity is so low, it doesn't bring the sand with it.
Doesn't carry it.
The silt it stays out there in the ground. So what they're doing is they're opening it up till enough of the gravel pack gets out there that the velocity coming in will leave the silt behind.
So the gravel will let it come in.
Right.
Yeah.
The water will come through, but it will trap the silt behind.
Yeah.
Is our aquifer level down at all, or is it about the same as it was last year and the year before?
So in the last just recent, you know, levels have stayed pretty constant.
So they're the same, we're not.
Yeah. But we are gonna get a full, you know, maybe 10 years back and track that forward. We've discussed that with.
It should start,
we're working
aquifer
on
will
building
show,
that.
the water level is a year behind, you know,
Yeah.
so it'll start
Sometimes I
showing
worry.
later on.
Trevor, sometimes I worry on a 40-year-old well, if the casing can deteriorate and let the gravel out of there
Yeah.
instead of perforations, is it opening up?
So this, through the video and through this swabbing process, they haven't, we did do a small repair at the bottom of the well. The bottom of the casing had essentially rotted out. They've fixed that. The rest of the casing looks to be in good shape.
Well, somebody cautioned me, telling me about that electronic, about the electrical current from variable speed pumps to put a isolator in there, because it can help accelerate the deterioration of a casing.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if we ought to be looking at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's.
Actually, we have
some.
Yeah, actually, me and Trevor have looked into it, and actually have a vendor actually reached out to me, and is gonna come out and actually show on the motor that we were talking about.
Yep. So we have done some research with regard to that.
Yeah, the way you start to see it is start seeing iron coming out that you don't normally see, so.
So the reason I talk about the development of this well is that it comes with a cost, because in our bid schedule, we didn't have this many hours of development. We didn't know it was gonna be, you know, a initial development of the well, essentially. So we are tracking those numbers. We've been, you know, thinking of our budget all along, you know, and we've had them stop at certain points when they potentially could have continued, but it's all through, you know, talking with the driller, with our engineer, with our staff to make that decision that, yeah, this is developed to a point where we feel good. We might be able to eke out a little bit more if we kept going, but let's call it now.
What kind of surprise steps are we taking, Trevor, when we get these oops? You know, when something happens like this, what kind of price jumps are we getting?
Price jumps?
Like if we have to go seal the bottom of the well, what kind of price does that come with?
The bottom of the well seal is, I think, $4,000. The development hours is, we have a bid number for that. So we're tracking that, and it is $450 an hour for that.
How deep is that well?
what is it, 230?
It's 240, but we're about
Yeah.
240, and it's about, what, a 24-inch casing?
30.
30-inch casing,
Yeah.
okay.
The well itself?
No, the outer
Yeah,
casing.
the outer casing,
is
yeah.
30.
20, isn't it a 20-inch well?
I think so.
Yeah, 20-inch inside.
What's-
The main screen and casing down.
Yeah,
is
what's the
20.
outer
That's-
casing, 30-inch?
30.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to put that surface casing down 50 feet usually. Right?
Oh.
So,
To stabilize the, well, I mean,
So-
30, whatever you need to stabilize the well before.
That's the one that they cement in to,
Yeah.
okay.
so that will come with a change order on that, when eventually, but wanted to give you kind of where we're at on that project. The next steps will be to, select a pump and then do pump testing.
How long's it been since we pumped out of this particular?
Since
When did we start this?
last,
I mean, it's been over a year since we've pumped out of this.
no, it hasn't been a year. I
Not
think,
been a year.
6 months, 9 months? 9 months maybe?
yeah, about 9 months.
Okay.
But it happened, the shaft broke
Oh.
on it, so that's where we end up pulling it.
Started the whole.
And that's what started the whole thing.
Oh, wow. Do you normally have a shaft break? That seems kind of unusual.
It was a collar, what it was on the shaft.
Coupler?
Yeah, the coupler.
Wow, okay.
So, some other things is the lead and copper newsletter. We've been working with AE2S, and through that, you know, we're working with them to do the inventory, and they're also helping us produce some literature that we can share with the public. First draft of a newsletter is here. This kind of educates the customer on what's customer side, what is district side, explains to them a little bit, you know, that lead and copper, and that we are inventorying, we're going to ask them for help. It kind of builds that relationship and understanding knowledge base for them. The idea would be to first put this out to them, you know, through our website, through monthly billing. And they drafted this in a way that it kind of ties to our report we just did on water quality.
Yeah.
Report.
Consumer confidence report.
Uh-huh. And it, you know, when Marie, when I talked to her on the phone about this, she was, wanted to mention that she heard, you know, I think maybe it was Jeff or Nick talking about, you know, the customer has to take responsibility for their side, you know. They are a part of this as much as we are, you know, and I think this helps get them there.
It's a good first step, introduction. And
The biggest problem with this, like on your newsletter, in my profession, we've not used lead solder since 76. You know, we went to high tens, 98%. So people are gonna be really looking for some information on this because they see this, say, oh, I've got soldered pipes, I gotta replace them, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be a
So,
little bit tough.
One, you know, one thing that other municipalities have already tackled this, they've sent out kits, or they've had kits here, you know, or at their office that the homeowner can come in. It has a magnet, has some instructions, you know, potentially even an app on their phone where they can upload a picture. But you take the magnet or you take a coin and scratch it, and you're looking for different things, you know, and that's maybe something we want to, you know, go towards as well. You know, trying to, you know, educate them and keep their worries down. You know, if you can put this magnet on there and nothing happens, then you're probably good. You know, that can alleviate them trying to guess, you know, what's my solder like? This looks different than that. Well, let's just keep it simple, and this is all you're doing.
I think there should be something in here that talks about, even though you see a solder joint, there are two kinds of solder joints.
Yeah.
a 50-50 lead solder joint and an antimony solder joint. They look identical.
Yeah.
So I think we need to put that in there, because somebody's gonna look at that and they're gonna say, and we're gonna say, no, there's two kinds in there, you know?
And those are maybe ones that, if there's questions, we can go out and, you know, do some additional
Oh, hell, I had a lot of
investigation.
plumbers said, shit, I'm not using 95.5, I'm gonna use 50-50, cause it solders better, looks nicer.
So if you have any, you know, comments on this, let us know. If you're okay, I think we would move, I don't know what month we decided. We kind of feel like getting it out sooner than later would be better, so maybe it's a September, an August
We'd have
bill,
to
so
see- Yeah, we'd have to have it to the printer to get it out
September 18th,
Okay.
If we get it to them September, it'll be October.
1st of October, yeah. So then just, our pump station project's moving along well. They're pouring the concrete, they've got the header set. You know, parts started rolling in, so that's moving really well.
For what's this?
The Zone 3 pump station.
Oh, yeah.
Secondary. So that's moving along well. We're getting close to starting to install our sampling stations throughout the city, or throughout our service area. And then the water line project is still a little bit of a point of discussion when that one starts, the replacement.
What made you select areas for sampling for the?
So we met with, you know, the meter crew and Matt, and we mapped all of our sampling sites.
I mean, I've got some people calling and complaining about chlorine.
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of on a dead end water line possibly that would accumulate there. I don't know. But I told them, I said, you know, we can smell the chlorine. And I said, well, we're required by law to put in there, but.
We can always, I would refer them, we can do a check to make sure it's reasonable.
And in fact, I have a demo and a sampler right now. Actually go over there and they can do an in-house sampling. It samples 23 different metals, chlorine, THS.
Well, like at my mom's house on White Way, but see, I think we've opened that up
Yeah,
now.
that's not
That
a dead end.
connects across now.
No, it actually has 2 feet where it feeds out through the new subdivision to the.
To
the
27.
west, then it goes back out to the east on the bottom street.
Okay. Yeah, and I say, well, just turn the tap on for a second. And it only takes a second, and then you don't smell anything, so.
Yeah.
I don't know why that would be.
That's kind of odd.
Yeah, but it's been a while. But I had some other people call me and I said, I don't know. I said, you'll have to call up here and talk to them and see.
Yeah, just call, we'll run over there and take a sample and see what their chlorine is.
So you guys just decided where accessibility and things like that?
The advantage to the sampling stations is we can pick where those go and we can fill in the gaps that you see. When you're using someone's home, you know, you're kind of limited to where you can go, and you may end up with 2 sites that are too close.
Okay.
You prefer them to be somewhere else, or so that's a big advantage to the sampling station. So we took our existing, you know, sites and then planned the sampling stations kind of around them.
Okay.
Then put some where we didn't have any, so getting.
Fill in the gaps, we're filling in the gaps.
New neighborhoods, Gablers Grove, Little Valley, you know, those are being installed with that infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, this is I'm gonna try to keep it shorter, but there's a couple other things. We had, under the wastewater budget, we had 2 studies. We had one on the BioBrox and one on settling basin, right? Dallas, the settling tank. But when we've had all these discussions about the organics in our ditch and the DO levels, and wanting to get, you know, additional aeration equipment, that's brought to light that we need to focus in on the organic capacity of the plant. Now, our facility plan covered, you know, the hydraulic capacity and the organic capacity. That was done in 2017, updated in 19, but they're essentially using 2014 organic numbers. And so with where we're at now, we have our aeration equipment. We know that we're reaching the limits on that, and we want to do an update to the facility plan focusing on organic capacity of the treatment plant. So rather than do those other two studies, we want to use the budget. Dallas feels like those can wait another year. We want to use that budget money to update our organic capacity and update to the facility plan. So if you are all right with that, we'll proceed that way. And I think that'll help us in figuring out our aeration needs. Okay.
We'll obviously bring back a task order
Yep.
on that, but we just wanted to make sure you supported going that direction.
Okay.
We think it's the right thing to do, but you'll have an opportunity to approve that.
Okay,
I think that
that's it.
pretty well covers us.
Okay, Raymond, how about your water report?
Water production for July. The Coney water production for July was 251.5 million gallons, or 772.115 acre feet. A 3.31% increase from 2021. Year-to-date production was 973.7 million gallons, or 2,988.45 acre feet. 7.9 decrease from 2021.
Wow.
We have purchased 467.71 acre feet of water from Jordan Valley as of July 22. Call-out report. Total of call-outs for water was 135.25. Wastewater was 17.5. Total of 152.75 hours.
Wastewater had 72 hours?
It was
17.
yeah, 17.5 on the
Oh,
wastewater side.
17.5,
Yeah,
okay. Out of the 152,
yeah,
okay.
and that's
Yeah,
my
you can see we had a pretty rough
Yeah, we had a lot of
July.
leaks come in this last month, so we've been doing a lot of repairs, actually. In fact, we're so far behind now with Salt Lake County for asphalt repair that I've actually had to go outside and get prices to have some asphalt repaired. Right now, we have like 28 open cuts right now, and they're big cuts, so we're talking where we have to have actually a lay-down machine to actually put the asphalt down, because they're so wide that we can't.
Yeah, they're making us go 12 feet wide now.
Yeah.
And they're making us, like you say, I have like 4 right now. I know Clint's told you that. And so, Magna Metro now, that any asphalt that's within 2 years that's been put down, we have to, from the edge of cut, we have to go 15 feet each way.
Oh, 15
15
feet
and
each way?
15, so that actual,
It's the moratorium requirements, yeah.
and then a slurry.
They're
seal has-
enforcing that now. They didn't used to.
They don't have that good of asphalt.
We're gonna have now.
And
And then same as slurry
That's
seal, we
putting a
have
big
to
expense
pay
on
for.
us.
If it's been slurry sealed in the last 2 years, we have to have a slurry.
That's putting a big expense on us.
So that's what we're doing right now. So I talked with Salt Lake County, they'll go ahead and slurry seal it. And then those turn around at the end of the year and bill us, and if they don't bill us, then we get away with it.
Cool.
So, but I doubt it.
Okay, Dallas.
Was that it for you, Raymond?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Just want to start off with the collections crew. One of the benefits, if there is one, from all these leaks is the opportunity for us to cross-train our men. We've had a lot of the guys from the collections crew go to help kind of get these leaks started and get them under control with those guys. So it's given the newer guys an opportunity to learn from some of the senior guys what the leak's like, and it's helped as they've been on call to just get more experience. So that's one of the things that Raymond and I, as department managers, have been really working on, is making sure that at any time, if we are down one guy from a specific crew, we can pull from each other's crews to kind of make up for the balance. At the treatment plant, I wanted to give you guys an update on that clarifier number 2.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, can I just make a comment on what Dallas said about
Yes.
the collections? I just wanna say how much support the collections crew gave the water crew during this last month. They covered and helped out on a lot of leaks. And so we've talked about ways the water crew can in turn repay the collections crew now, once it slows down. So I think you'll see
And
that.
a little cross-training on the opposite side where the
Oh,
water
really
crew will
pleased.
actually go on the sewer side.
And I think that's.
They
a-
may not wanna do that.
Go there.
I just wanna make that comment.
Okay.
Good coordination I've seen between the
Excellent.
departments.
And one thing good I wanna add too with the collection side, they've come out of most of all the call-outs for weekend repairs, which is really good.
Good.
Thank you.
Update on the clarifier, as the board knows, we've got the new clarifier drive motor, and we put that clarifier back online, we watched it operate. The drive motor seems to be operating as it should. We've put it back in service, it's been in service now for about 72 hours, it's stabilized, and we started to take the last clarifier that needs the upgrades offline as of yesterday. West Tech will be on site next week to start the installation of the new drive motor and finish off those upgrades. We anticipate that to be completed in the next 3 or 4 weeks. On the fuel storage tank that we ordered, that's scheduled to be delivered at the end of the month. This is gonna increase our off-power operation capabilities. Right now, we can probably go for, a maximum of about 15 hours. With this additional fuel capacity, we're calculating an additional 36 hours of plant runtime depending on the full generator load. So this is gonna be a really big deal for the plant and for operations in the event of a power outage.
So that puts you at about 50 hours, Alice?
I think, depending on load, we've calculated about 48, but really at a full load, at least at 36.
How often have you had that long of a time period? Do you think you're covered now? Have you ever had the power off for longer than?
Our most significant power loss was about 15 hours. So it was really close. We were getting fuel from, with our mobile service truck, we were gathering fuel from the gas station to bring back to top off generators. So it was pretty scary, but with this, I think we'll be a lot better. And then future budget years, we're planning for an additional tank at least, maybe 2. So, everything seems to be running good at the treatment plant. I wanted to bring up one item that's a little bit sensitive. I'd like to give kind of a high-level review on some of the situations we're having with Northrop Grumman, previously known as ATK.
Yeah.
They've had some facility upgrades and process upgrades that have changed the way that they discharge to our collection system. They've approached us with the idea of doing a local limit study to kind of see how we could change their permit to work better with their new process. They've approached us in the past, and we haven't negotiated with them. From what we can tell, as a wastewater team, they're operating under their original permit. So they've proposed this local limit study. They volunteered to do the funding. Our recommendation is that we move forward with this study. The study will have direct oversight. We'll choose a third party neutral that can kind of do the local limit study to see if there's some changes that we can make to their permit that won't affect our process down at the plant. Through conversations that we've had with the state of Utah, our pre-treatment coordinator over at the state, she says, as far as their existing permit goes, it's pretty stringent, and some of the limits that we're holding them to right now would be hard to defend if we aren't willing to make some negotiations. They've approached previous leadership about negotiations. We've opted not to do that, and so they've gone around us, they've gone to the state, and now the state's saying, hey, we can't make you do anything, but it's probably time to sit down and look at some options here.
So the things in question, are they directly have an effect on your ditch?
No, they're not specifically. There's some controlled pollutants that we're regulated on that can be of concern, but there are controlled pollutants that they're regulated on that don't really have an effect on our plant. There's some things that they're regulated on that we are not. So we do think between our consultant team and our treatment team, we think we've got some room to work here, but it's probably just time to take a look at this permit. You know, ATK is one of our oldest relationships. We want to preserve that. We want to have the, you know, the protection of the plant and the best interests of the district firsthand. But this is something that we're working on. This is something that we'll continue to bring updates to you guys. But
How long did the study take?
it depends. You know,
Are they recommending?
The point we're at right now is they've sent out an inquiry of consulting firms that would be available to do this study. We've narrowed it down to 2 or 3. The next step in this process is for our team and their team to get together and choose the consultant. The consultants are sending in the scope of what the study will consist of. So it's pretty early on. I just wanted to let the board know that this is something that's coming because of the sensitive nature of some of the questions you guys may have. It may be appropriate to take that into the closed. We'd certainly be willing to follow up on any other questions you may have. I just wanted to give the board.
But the bottom line is, you're gonna look at the study. I mean, they'll do a study, let's say if it's a month or 2 months or 3 months, and then you're gonna come back and review that and make a decision based on that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep, that's our recommendation, is to move forward with the study. Once the results are in, we'll evaluate it and determine if any of the suggested changes are appropriate.
Okay.
Don?
Dallas, I'll point out, every time we've done one of those studies in the past, that ATK has always wanted to utilize dilution. They want a dilution of our pipe network in order for them to meet qualifications, so that even though it got to the treatment plant, it didn't bother the treatment plant because of all the dilution. And in the past, we have never let them have that effect of dilution. We told them, no, you where you point and where you discharge, we're gonna treat you exactly as if you were discharging right out of the treatment plant.
Sure.
Right.
And that's what's made the problem all the time, is that we haven't granted them the dilution in the past.
Right.
So let me tell you what happened to Interstate Brick. So Interstate Brick was doing the same thing to West Jordan. Well, I don't know if they did a study, but they turned around and they had to spend $1 million to put, I believe it was nitrogen. No, they were getting something off the brick from their wash down and something going in it. They had to put a plant in right in the middle of the plant and treat it. And you know what? And it was right. But the plant manager, Jerry, was complaining like he was hung with a new rope. But you know what? The bottom line was, it had no business going down to the sewage treatment plant. So I think you're on the right track. I would not just let them go, just like he's saying.
Right.
Solution is not the solution. It still ends up down to the plant.
To your point, Jeff, I think there's a lot of leadership changes on their side of this as well. And I think this is just them trying to add on to this communication that we've had over the years. The benefit of this may be, they decide that they have to have some type of pre-treatment plant on their facility before they are able to discharge.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a win-win, especially where they've committed the financing of this. And just joining in to this study doesn't commit us to make any type of permit changes.
The other thing I'll counsel you is when they're doing the study, in the studies in the past, we went down, not way down in the system, but we did go at points in the system and check for sediment in some of the pipe joints, where we were looking for some of the explosives and things, where we would then find those high concentrations down in our system in some of the bells of our pipes.
Wow.
And in the junction of the manholes, because it would come down and it would be diluted by any analysis, but it would settle out, so we were getting these explosives and things. And so we've never backed off on that. And so, just so be aware that some of the problems that we had before, when they just go do a study and, look, we did a sample, so.
Right. Well, I appreciate the counsel. In fact, maybe you and I will spend some time talking offline, and you can kind of give me a little bit of the history on where we are. I'd appreciate that.
And maybe we might want to even have Dawn get involved with us
This is
too.
under that West
I
Headwood.
need to get Don involved, it's good.
Yeah.
I would get Don involved.
The thing I worry about is we're really camping on the reuse. So you get stuff like this, and then it comes out, then it's going back to the reuse, there you go.
Right.
So I think it's really
it's a
putting
big deal.
a little more focus on.
Yeah.
And for the record, I would really like to get Dawn involved with us on that too.
I think it's a
And I
good
would
idea.
too, I think that's a good
And
idea.
Dallas, this was the west.
One of the things we
west,
struggle-
Trunk line come down 8,000,
It's-
what Don's
it's-
talking about.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a good idea. One of the things we struggle with is there's not a lot of documentation. So the state's looking at the documentation that we have and they say, this isn't gonna hold up. So we need to develop that history and we need to if we can test these concerns and show it and document it properly, we'll have a much better chance of getting state support in holding the line if we choose to hold the line.
Okay, no, that's good, Dallas. Get all the help you need. I don't know how we'd ever dig up any old information. Would Epic have anything on that?
Right.
Oh, you do?
I'm willing to bet there's a fair amount of documentation, it's just a matter of finding it. And I'd prefer to discuss that issue in closed rather than in public.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chair, just one more item I'd like to bring up. There was some questions concerning the maintenance program of the aeration equipment. I just wanted to kind of resolve some of that. We operate under the suggested manufacturer's scheduled maintenance program, and what we've done is we've kind of taken that program and we've looked at it, and I'm talking about the aeration equipment, the Triton mixers and blowers. We perform the manufacturer's recommended services, and kind of one of the things we're running into is this equipment's so new that there's not a lot to look for. So to be able to go, what we're looking to do is go above and beyond what just the manufacturer recommends. So we've got a checklist that we pull out of the O&M manual that we go through, and there's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual services that we do. That stuff's all documented. So I've got some of that printed, so if the members of the board would like to discuss that, I've got that information available. And we've talked as a team, part of improving our maintenance program, this is one of the things we want to be proactive, finding the things that go just above and beyond what the manufacturer recommends. So I think that's one of the things that we're working on right now, so.
In our last board meeting, you bring up you had a failure on one. That really caught my ear because I called a couple other people, and the longest life of blower systems right now is FL Smith, but they inject a little bit of oil in their bearing system, but that's what gives them the longest life there is. The second longest life is the Arizon, and it's just the way they build stuff. But I get a little worried because we've got this new equipment. I don't know what kind of a track record it has. I'm really leery of the track record of this equipment. Sure. Because you've already had, and you mentioned, I'm sure you're a little nervous about it too. And I'm just saying, if you go out and look at other people that are running the same system with the same pressure on the blower and find out what track record there, you may find a little more than you want to find.
Are you we haven't had a failure of the aeration.
Right, Mr. White, I think we should clarify here, the failure that we mentioned was part of the electrical component, so it wasn't the hardware or the mixer or the blower itself. With a power outage, we had a problem with the PLC, and that made the equipment shut down.
Yeah.
So the equipment's still good. It was an electrical issue due to a power outage.
But you were ordering some spare parts for, and that's what I'm concerned about, what we're ordering spare parts and a whole nother blower.
Yeah.
That's not an electrical component, so,
Right.
so that's what I'm basing it on, what you reported on last
Okay.
month. Is that right? Is that right?
What you're saying is correct. I'd like to add that part of the manufacturer's recommendation is these mini kits that we're ordering. They recommend changing those out, having a mini repair kit on site, and those are changed out at intervals of 3 to 8 years, depending on the use of the equipment. So we wanted to have one of those on the shelf in the event that when we get to the 3-year mark, some of our preventative maintenance items have shown up, and we've decided, okay, this piece of the equipment is a wearable item, it's in the repair kit, and something that we've seen has triggered that repair.
Okay.
So that's a repairable kit that you'll see in this request that comes along with the shelf unit for the.
What kind of time frame is it to install a mini repair kit?
The mini kit is a pretty simple thing. You take the blower offline, it can be done with 2 guys in 1 to 2 hours.
Okay.
So some of the more significant stuff, the equipment will be down for longer than that, but this mini repair kit is a pretty simple deal.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things we're working as a team is to set those targets. What's the criteria for when we make decisions?
Yeah.
So we're working through that as a team. Manufacturer says this, but we might say, hey, this is what we need
Oh,
to do.
like if they say put it in every 3 years, you might do it every 2 years.
Yeah, whatever we feel like is justified, depending on the criticality of that equipment.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, the other criteria, we were talking about the EDR, it needs to, the primary purpose from the manufacturer's perspective is it removes arsenic and perchlorate. But we don't want to see any degradation of TDS either. So they might be thinking, manufacturer might be thinking arsenic perchlorate. We want to make sure TDS doesn't drop off either. So our criteria might be more stringent to make sure. So that's, we're going through those discussions. We're going to develop a plan that we can have in place that.
Well, my main concern is reliability of the equipment. And like I say, I don't want us to get something in there that we're having to spend extra maintenance on when other people are getting more life.
Right. The last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is there was an inquiry about the original gearbox quote from West Tech. I've got that printed here. It's also available in your packets from March. We can make more copies of this available. This includes everything from that original West Tech quote. I will point out that the gearbox and the drive motor are cast as a single unit. So it's not a drive motor and the gearbox, it's a single unit.
Okay.
So
they made the recommendation when we had that emergency approval. And in the emergency approval, they said, we can take the old one and rebuild that and give you a spare. But if I think you reported that the new one is an updated, newer unit. And so whether, I mean, that's your evaluation, whether you decide you want to rebuild the old one for a backup, or it's lasted how many years?
Over 30.
Yeah. Wow. So, but we still thought it would be good for you to have a backup.
Right.
Isn't that what we talked about?
Yes.
Okay.
I
agree with that too.
We've got an inquiry in with West Tech. Once the job's completed and everything's squared away, then they'll pull one of the old gearbox and motors offsite, evaluate it, and see what the cost would be to consider it a shelf unit, and we can evaluate the cost at that time.
How much is a gearbox roughly, you think, by itself?
I don't have a price for the gearbox itself because it's cast as a single unit.
Well, I mean, the whole drive unit. What do you think?
59,000.
59,000.
Yeah, it's worthwhile to investigate.
We've kind of been operating under the idea that if a repair to bring a unit that's failed back to shelf life is more than about 50% of the overall cost, maybe we won't do it.
Right.
That's kind of our hard line of where we make that evaluation.
Okay. Well, we're probably a little premature, but that was a question that came up, and I kind of thought West Tech was using that kind of a selling point, and I thought, good, then let's see what they can come up with. That's all. That was the only reason I bring that up. The decision is yours to decide if you want to bring a rebuilt one back in for a spare, or if you want to buy a new one and have for spare.
Sure.
It all depends on the technology, and if there's improvements, less horsepower, runs more efficiently.
Right.
All those things you'll take in consideration. So.
Okay. Great.
But I think everybody agreed it would be good
Yes.
to have one as backup.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay.
One other thing I wanted to bring up. You guys talked about, you went to school and you learned about reliability. If you guys are really serious about this, the one thing I'd recommend right now is we take oil samples from the boxes. I don't care what Bob says. Take oil samples to the gearboxes and take them over. It's $25 sample, run them over to Wheeler and start documenting some of this stuff. Anytime you change oil out of a machine, you take it over and have it sampled, and we'll start tracking it. And that way you can start to see if there's water infiltration, if there's any metals showing up. They're very thorough, and for the cost, it's way cheaper than buying our own machine and stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt us, right?
Nope.
For $25, it can't hurt.
You're throwing it away anyway, so.
Yep,
So yeah, we'll incorporate that.
And we might need to send somebody over and have them take some training on how to pull oil out of gearbox, because you don't just pull the plug and catch that first sample.
Yeah, cause it's right on the bottom.
Yeah, so it's a running system, and then you shut it down, pull the gearbox, and you pull a sample, so, anyway.
Good deal.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Okay, Leo, let's move on to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under the tab financials, this is the report for second quarter in 2022. Overall, we are showing an income of $3,044,525. That is primarily due because we've collected more impact fees and connection fees this year than we did last year. There is an increase in the sewer service charges, and most of that is because of our additional connections. The sewer's based on a residential equivalent minimum. If you go to the first chart for the revenue, everything's above budget except for our water sales, and Raymond reported July was below almost 8%. Right now the revenue is only 0.17% less than last year, so the new growth is really helping that difference. And then we are 11% lower than what we have budgeted for water sales, so hopefully that will come up in July and August, but it may not. On the expenses, we are all under budget. Overall, we're 12% below budget, so it kind of compensates with our 11% lower sales. So we're 12% lower in our expenses.
Awesome.
And I'll just say we have seen an increase in sales in July. It was
Yes.
pretty dramatic.
Well, also, just to kind of let you know, code enforcement's been out and about in the community about, on people about letting their lawns go. Cause they're allowed to water for 3 days a week, and we'd done a deal over here the night out against crime, and the county parks look horrible.
Yeah, they do.
And it's not just here, it's all over. So Jordan Valley last night said they were gonna make some calls to the county about their parks, because they look way, way bad.
Yeah, we need to make sure that residents know it's not an excuse to let your lawn, just let everything.
Because one of the HOAs over right behind us, it said to the Magna Township Council about, they're saying that their grass is crappy. I mean, they need to put water on it. Well, people's not watering. So, but the township can't, the HOA said, you got 3 days to water.
And that'll keep a
And we don't have a limit. They
Yeah.
can go a little longer. You might need to use a little iron. There's some things that people probably haven't been used to doing, but
some beer hops.
It actually,
Some beer hops help. No, but the problem is, it's been so hot for so
has.
long
It has.
that if they use their regular water schedule in their defense, it won't work. And so you really have to step it up. So
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna see their lawns, they're looking pretty crappy, but it's gonna take probably another month before they start to look any better. It's just, we're now getting relief now, so.
My lawn, if you drive by and look at my lawn, it's green. But I didn't mow mine.
you leave it
I went 2 weeks
That's how I've been doing.
and I left it longer, and it really,
And you put all them hops on there too.
but it really helped leave it longer. Got my mower as high as it'll go, but I didn't mow in 2 weeks span.
Yeah, that helps it.
I don't know, just saying.
Yeah, it does help.
Mine looks good,
It does.
real good.
So I've also introduced integrated a couple more charts in here to give you more information. The next page, sorry, I should put page numbers on.
You're fine.
But the next page is of project payments. It's not what we've spent totally on the projects, it's what we spent during January to June. So the total of those is $724,000. So that's where $724,000 of our money went.
Okay.
The next chart is just showing, demonstrating what is in our bank accounts. There's a 9.2 million in restricted, and unrestricted is 25.6. The next pie chart is how much we decreased our payables by. So again, we've spent 2.5 million towards payables. The big chunk of it is the difference in our operating expenses, like janitorial, Chemtech for samples, just all of our operating expenses. We decreased our payable by 1.7 in the last 6 months. Long-term debt, of course, that's our GO bonds and revenue bonds and our loan. We decreased that by 762. Next report, you'll see that decrease a lot higher. Total decrease, like I said, was $2,548,000 in payables. So we're setting pretty good.
Awesome.
Really good. And then detail for everything is following those charts.
Okay. Thank you for your report.
You're welcome.
Okay, project,
Should I continue?
He's got
There's
one.
a couple
okay, you
more
got,
points.
oh, I'm sorry,
No,
I'm getting
you're
ahead of the,
just fine. So the next is under legal checklist. It's basically a draft of all of our legally requirements that we have to comply.
right,
Annually, monthly, semi-monthly, or semi-annually, every 2 years, every 3 years. So I don't wanna go through each of these individually,
It's under the tab legal checklist.
sorry.
And we'll be using this with the AR&R update.
Yeah.
A lot of this tees up with some of the forms and things we've already been
Yeah.
I
discussing.
think this is something I'm very excited about. This is gonna give us a monthly check-in on everything that we're obligated to meet deadlines for. A couple of the things that we'd like the board's feedback on this. There's a couple things we've talked about that could potentially enhance this. Every month, we'll highlight which ones are due in the next period. So from the board, this board meeting to next board meeting, there'll be a highlighted, these ones are due in that time frame. So the board will be able to see what needs to be done, the management team, in the time from this board meeting to the next board meeting. We'll also have who's responsible to what position is responsible to make sure that's done, and what role in the district. And then a couple things that we've talked about adding is some of the more ongoing, longer-term reporting, wastewater reports that are due every 3 years, water reports that are due every 5 years. Those will be another category, and we'll make sure the board will have confidence that these things are getting done and when they were last done. So I think it's a real positive, and it's taken a lot of work, but I compliment Leisle for getting this to where we're at now. It's a great tool.
It does make you think, oh yeah, I forgot about that one, would you do it anyway?
And you can see just the magnitude of what she's had to keep track of in,
Yeah.
you know, this is a lot. So I'll compliment her, that she's done a good job at being able to see it and keep it at the forefront of our minds is gonna be a great tool.
Yes, it will be for me also. So, Chair, the next general engineering tab under my section, this is what you guys have wanted on all those general engineering contracts.
Right.
For instance, Epic, we approved 50,000 for this, 50,000 for that, 100. This is the year-to-date balance of what we've applied towards those general engineering task orders. Probably kind of small, hard to read. You'll have to let me know, but none of them are over what we authorized. So there's a remaining column, the very last column, it's remaining on the
It's right under in general engineering.
It fit on one page, the lettering's kind of small, sorry. I
Okay,
can
we're
make it
good.
bigger. But Epic's the first one, Stantec is the second one, TO Engineers does our GIS, they're the next one. Hanson Allen Lewis has a general engineering task order for 20,000. And I apologize, kind of mixed up, those last two are the two you just approved for AE2S.
Yep.
One for this capital plan improvement plan, strategic financial, and the lead and copper rule. So that's the year-to-date totals
Okay.
as of the end of June. And that's concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to project awards and agreements.
Hey, Trevor. Majority of these are
Oh, are they Dallas?
not mine.
Oh, okay. Dallas, maybe that's yours.
None of them are yours, Trevor.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Not. Usually it is.
I know, it's usually you.
So we wanted to, at the last board meeting, we mentioned the West Tech change order. We wanted to bring that back to you today, Mr. Chairman. There was an additional amount of $4,800 for the control panel. When those are originally ordered, they're ordered pretty bare bones, and once they get on site, you know, you decide what kind of components you want in there as far as alarms for the piece of equipment. So that's the reason for the $4,800 change order.
So do we approve, legal counsel, do we approve these each individually?
I think you should. I mean,
Okay.
You could go through them all. I think it's probably easier. Dallas, you're gonna go through each of these individually. I
Right.
suggest you just approve them as he goes through them.
Okay, so right now we can go ahead and approve that change
Yeah,
order.
because you may,
Okay.
I don't know if you're gonna have questions or concerns about some of the other ones. So
Okay.
if you're okay with this,
Mr.
let's just approve it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the change order number 1 to the clarifier upgrade restoration project in the amount of $4,800.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Dallas.
The next item we'd like to bring is the price of the additional shelf unit. This is the Triton mixer blower. This comes with 2 repair kits and then the additional unit. I would advise that what this price doesn't include is any extra electrical that may need to be done at the time of the swap. But this will give us a 9th unit that in the event of a major issue, we can put this into service while we troubleshoot the piece that it's gone down. So
Does an electrician have to be involved to swap this out?
it depends on how we decide to run this equipment. You know, we've got existing power in the RAS building that's left over from the original rotors. So we don't think this is gonna be as simple as plugging it into an outlet. It may take some hard wiring, and especially if we wanna have some SCADA control.
Okay.
So isn't this a swap out to the one that you have now?
Correct.
Yep.
So if you take one out, or are you gonna try to hook in a temporary spare one alongside before you pull the old one out?
That's part of the overall evaluation that we're working on. What this does is potentially if one unit goes down, we lift that one out and we put this one right in place, and that's pretty plug and play.
Okay, so I just was wondering why you needed electrical controller.
I'm just trying to account for any unforeseen costs in this quote.
You're right.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the aeration equipment spare shelf unit from Aeration Industries International and the repair kits in the amount of $54,424.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, bring to your attention the purchase of the TruVac HXX by Vactor manufactured from Owens Equipment in the amount of $602,410, which was changed on the agenda sheet from the original price of $612.
So 602,410.
Yeah, cause I thought 602.
602 what?
602.
$602,410 was the sales price and not the 612,875.
So that's the total of the 592 and the
And then,
8,900
no, the 8,900, what was that?
optional features.
Yeah, we didn't go with optional, with all the optional features on it. So it just brought it back down.
Oh,
to,
yeah, okay.
And that just brought it down to
Hell of a lot more. That's just the portable
just
510.
another 10,000 less.
Okay.
Close.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make propose the purchase of the TrueVac HXX Vector Manufacturing from Owen Equipment, the amount of $602,410.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Raymond, when will we receive this?
They received it last Thursday. We're just waiting right now for the check to be delivered to take, to get the title so we can get it registered.
Awesome.
How much training does it take?
They think they can come out and do it in one day's training.
Okay.
So sometime this coming week,
Awesome.
next week, I mean.
I like that when things move fast like that.
Yeah, and we appreciate the board's support on that. That is gonna improve efficiency more than we probably even know at this point, but we know it's gonna
It'll be
have a big
amazing.
impact.
I just want to make sure that people are safe
Right.
and we know what we're doing on that truck
Exactly.
and have the right hoses. Okay, our next one is order of meters. Is that you, Lyle?
Yeah, I'll take that. Because of lead times, everybody's heard about it. The meters are used to take 6 weeks, now it used to take 6 months, now it's 8 to 12 months.
Jesus, 12 months.
So, well, I'd say more like 8, 9, but still.
So we've received the ones,
We haven't received the ones we
We-
approved in March yet. We've
Some of them,
received 80% of it maybe.
so we're already 5 months out roughly on the ones that were approved. And this is to cover the ones that we anticipate next year.
Next year. So this amount, $722,792, won't be spent and will be put in 2023's budget.
Okay,
We just need approval so we can have them order them
okay.
and get them coming.
What are the consequences if we don't do
You
it?
You'd approve it?
No meters.
No meters.
So we would have to deny new connections, or there'd have to be jumpers. We would have to be in a different mode, so we wouldn't get revenue, we wouldn't have an accurate reading of revenue if we allowed it to continue, or we choose to tell people we can't
Yeah.
even have you
It would-
occupy
Get
this.
sued over that.
And we'd get sued, so
I
I think
think
we
I
need to
would-
do this, even though it's a big,
I'd have nightmares. I wouldn't be able to make it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve my mind went blank, I'm thinking about what he said.
sorry, Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the orders of the meters for the 2023 for the new development, 900 replacement 5/8, 200 3/4, and the extra larger meters for $722,792.17.
Second that.
Been motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to item I.
Okay, I think we've talked about the
I was just
staff.
gonna say, we talked about a lot of this.
The one that we haven't is the Granger Hunter Improvement District has approached us about updating our interlocal agreement.
Yeah,
We've had our attorney review that, our in-house staff. We've made some comments on that, but relatively minor, I would say, right? Other than the way it's, your concerns about cleanup of the connections. Can you explain your concerns?
I'm not sure if we want to do this, but of course it's the board's decision. Currently, we charge Granger Hunter, I apologize, I don't know the number, over 100 cross connections. So what happens is Granger Hunter bills the customer we provide the customer sewer, and then in turn, we bill Ranger Hunter. Well, I think their concern is that their rate's not the same as our rate, but that's okay, we can make that work. Changing this contract would make Magna Water put in those 120 customers in our system and bill them directly, which I don't think that's a bad idea. It would give us a better true number of connections for sewer. That would just take a bit of time. The only issue I'm concerned about is in this agreement, it also addresses us charging property taxes to those customers because they live at Granger Hunter.
Yeah.
Granger Hunter collects the property
And
taxes
so
based
now-
on their.
And so now we'll give them a property tax too, right?
So what happens is at the end of every year, we charge Granger
Oh,
Hunter
okay.
based on our tax rate revenue. Well, our tax rate revenue is not gonna be the same as their tax rate revenue, and what they're proposing is that just gets split down the middle. I don't know, I'm just concerned it's not gonna take into consideration our rate, our property taxes that we need to collect for our GO.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
It
is
may
it
not
more,
end up being a big difference in money.
is it more work for you, Leon?
I think it's the same amount of work.
Harder to keep
Because
track
you're-
of or anything?
I don't think it's gonna be harder, it's very cumbersome now. But even if
Will
we,
it help provide a little more clarity though? Is the question.
This says the district that is levying and collecting property taxes on the crossover properties situated within its boundaries shall pay 1/2 of the taxes collected on that property.
If it's just 50, what they're wanting is a simplified process.
But you're still gonna have to determine what properties and the property's value to get that number.
Has legal counsel reviewed this?
I've reviewed it, and so basically where we're at is there are certain legal boxes you have to check for an agreement like this, and it checks those boxes under the Interlock Cooperation Act. But what I've said is, you guys need to tell me what makes practical sense. So what Leisle is raising aren't legal issues, they're practical considerations for what this would mean. And so, is the agreement legal? Yes. Does it make sense for you to do? That's the question that Leisle is going through.
How urgent is this? I mean, I
It's
would
not,
like
it's,
to.
I think that's been one of their goals. They wanted to clean this up. They felt like that it needed some cleaning up. We said we'd review what they put together. That's the part we're in.
Right.
If we need more time, to go back and talk with them, if it's to the point where we can make a recommendation to the board, I thought we were closer, maybe a little bit closer than, I didn't realize you had as many concerns.
I would feel better if we took some time and talked to Granger Hunter and
Okay.
see where they're thinking
Okay,
this.
we can certainly do that. I'd recommend we table it then, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Sorry.
Nope, you're fine. We will table this. Okay, and our next scheduled regular board meeting is September 8th.
Any
That work for
concern with that?
everybody?
Yep.
Is that September 8th for?
It's the second Tuesday.
Oh, second.
Thursday, right?
Yep.
Excuse me, Thursday.
Scared me.
Sorry.
It's the same time at 10.
Same time, same place.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to training and safety.
Mr. Chairman, we have the next conferences that are coming up that we would like to discuss and have the opportunity for board input and direction is the Intermountain Section AWWA Conference, which is October 5th through 7th in Vernal. This is a conference that is very good for the management team. It is the primary representatives for specifically water, and we usually attend this. This last time was held in Midway at the Zermatt. This time it's in Vernal, so it would require an overnight expenditure to do this. We're proposing myself and either Raymond or Leal, depending on if Raymond's knee surgery goes well.
And I'm back out.
And he's back out. And Steve or Matt, one lead man, and then myself and a manager, and then any board members that would like to attend is what we'd recommend. And we've provided the schedule for what's included in the training to see if there's of any interest to the board. There's quite a few. The board has expressed interest in the management team getting management-focused programs, and there are quite a few in this conference generally that have classes that aren't necessarily about water-specific issues. They're more leadership and management focused. And
So let's send everybody.
we're just trying to make sure we can have everything covered.
Yes.
So that's what we would propose.
Okay.
Unless there's any questions, be happy to answer.
I'm good. So as now, we'll send you and either Matt or Steve, and then either Raymond
Or Leon.
or Leo.
Because if I don't go, then Leon will take my place.
Okay, awesome. And then any board present.
Okay. And
Yes, he needs to come.
Do you need a motion? These are also noticed to be discussion and motion.
Right, we're gonna.
Do these collectively or one at a time?
however, it sounds like maybe we do them one at a time.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve our attendance at the Intermountains Section AWWA Conference, October 5th to the 7th of Vernal, Utah.
Second that.
Now, do we have to name Nathan in that? Should we put some names to that, or can we leave it blank?
I think you could, the proposal is you're basically gonna send three people.
Yeah.
And so I think what I would suggest is that maybe you amend the motion to send 3 staff.
And any
selected by the
trustees.
General manager and any
Okay,
trustees that want to.
okay.
Trustees go?
You can say any trustees that want
okay.
to go.
So, make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to make a motion to approve attendance to the Intermountain Sectional AWWA Conference, October 5th to the 7th in Vernal, Utah, and three staff people to attend, and any trustees that want to attend.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll have Leal cover the next one, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So Cassell has a training conference every year. We have not participated in very many years. And I have seen where by not participating, we've missed out on a few things.
Okay.
So this one is in Salt Lake, October 25th and 26th. And what I would propose is for sending myself and Mandy for both days.
Okay.
All day, we can drive to and from. But then to have the other 3 I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a schedule, and then down at the bottom I've kind of put who we would like to have attend. It would give the others a chance to learn some training on the modules that they use specifically in their job duties. So Cassell also did say that we could pay for like one standing individual, and we could send one person, have them go and come back home and send another. So one fee would cover 2 people,
Okay.
as long as we traded who attended.
And I would like to be included in that mix.
Oh,
of-
sure.
Of the
Absolutely.
half day.
That would make it a lot more even. So it's also buy one, get one free. So if we bought actually 4 seats, we'd only pay for 2 registrations.
Okay.
I think that would work.
One of my goals is to learn the system to be able to back up it more efficiently.
I like that.
So,
So I guess we're asking for permission to send
4 people.
all office staff, but only pay for
Okay.
If you,
I'm totally fine with that. Any way we can get any kind of training that's gonna help us, I'm all for that.
great.
We'll make sure we're covered. To
Okay.
accommodate.
So I have a question going back to the first one we approved. So there looks like there's quite a bit of management training. I don't know, I kind of feel like if we could send our staff that has like Dallas, you know, just our management team, because I think that's one of our biggest things that we struggle on is our training for like our management and, you know, see, you know, if we have coverage that can fill these slots, because it's not like we're that far away.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Trevor and Dallas will be in WEFTEC.
Okay.
They'll be able to cover us, but then they're gone. So.
Now, when's that was Tech? When's
Following week, Mr. Chairman.
WEFTEC.
okay?
So we
I
didn't
missed that.
feel like 2 weeks of
Okay.
them gone would work with their schedule.
Yeah, we're kind of splitting it up between WEFTEC and AWWA.
Back-to-back conference?
Yes,
They've got they've got obligations that probably can't go that long without.
Okay. So
She's kind of got the schedule all this.
yes, I just seen that.
That's a good job, Leon. Good
Yes.
job. Is it okay with everybody else if they agreed to this schedule?
I have not,
Virginia?
I have
Northern?
not approached them until I got
Yep.
board approval.
Yep.
After that, I will.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a approval for the Cassell Training Conference, October 25th to 26th in Salt Lake City at the Marriott. And to approve the people that are attending as per the documented schedule.
I'll second
It's
that.
been motion second, all in favor.
Aye.
So where's that, how come there isn't a Las Vegas one on?
They normally swap
For-
between Salt Lake and Vegas.
Okay.
We haven't attended.
Well, no, but I got my packet yesterday from Jordan Valley and like, what, there's 3 different conferences. There's this one here in Vernal, and then there was,
Mr. Chairman, if I may add here, I believe the one you're speaking of is called Tri-State.
is that what it is?
It's happening in Vegas right now. It's probably comparable in size, not necessarily in the amount of attendance, but with the amount of equipment and stuff on display as the WEFTEC one. So this one is one that we haven't been to before. It's designated to a little bit of water, but mostly sewer. And we've got some.
Yeah, because the one I'm going to, well, the one that, it's in December. It's like the 3rd through the 5th.
The Tri-State Conference is going on in Las Vegas right now.
Okay.
Oh, well.
It's technically not in Vegas, it's at that South Point,
Yes.
so it's an all-inclusive deal there.
Okay. And then availability dates to hold trustee training.
Yeah, I approached LeGrand Bitter,
Yeah.
UASD.
Yeah.
And asked if anybody from his organization or he himself would come out and actually do in-person trustee training, the annual.
Okay, and I like that, but I also think you get a lot when you go up to Layton.
Oh, that's fine.
What, I
Are they
mean,
gonna have it at Layton this year?
is that where it's gonna be at
UASD, I think it's.
November?
Layton. It's
Layton?
either Layton or yeah, last year was Provo, so it should be Layton
Oh,
this year.
okay.
last year was Provo?
We wanted to give the board an option.
Right,
If-
right.
If you would prefer them come so that you could just take care of it at a board meeting. This is an
I'm
option.
okay with whatever you wanna do.
Whatever you want.
He's already done his training, so he's
He
done.
has one more to do,
Oh, he has one more?
the short one.
Okay, if we went to Layton, would we get it all done in one, I mean, would we?
You would,
You would.
but it's just a little bit more of a time commitment because you have to go.
And then it does come with
And
an,
they make sure,
and it does come with lunch, so.
What is the date?
That's what this is on here for, is if we were to have LeGrand come,
Oh, yeah.
he wanted us to propose some dates and then he could.
we could propose it after
As long as it has lunch.
the conference, and if everybody can make it to the conference,
Good idea.
then we can cancel.
Yeah, so if we plan on doing the conference, make sure we do the conference. If we
Okay,
don't, then we
so
have-
I'm okay if we do it here. Then you guys would just be for, you guys would.
We would all.
We would all participate. As long as there's a lunch involved, we're good.
Yeah, so we could do that.
I mean, you can still do both. I mean,
Sure.
the benefit of having LeGrand come out personally is that you could ask, you know, it would just
A
be
lot,
for you, it would be a
yes.
little bit more specific. The benefit of going to the conference, which I'll be involved in putting together, is you get a chance to interact with other people.
You get to
in your
network a
situation.
lot.
You get to network a lot, you get a chance to meet with the vendors.
I think that conference is excellent.
It is a very well-run conference, not just because I'm usually involved in it, but.
Well, do me a favor, whatever you guys think that you guys wanna do, let's do. Whatever the majority, I'm fine with whatever.
Does anybody know the date of the conference up there?
It's
It's
usually
no-
the first weekend in November.
November,
I might have it on-
I think it's November like 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah. What I would suggest we do is, have coordinate with LeGrand and set up a date that's after the meeting, that's at our next board meeting following. And if anybody that can't, make the conference, we have something.
A backup, that's a good idea too, I like that.
Yeah, let's do
So
that. If you guys wanna do it here, it's fine.
November,
December.
the November board meeting after the conference.
So November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is what I have the conference as.
Why don't we see if we could set it up next
Third
month?
in the November, but remember, we'll have.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What? What do we got?
We'll have budget.
Yeah, we got budget.
Oh, crap.
We did the budget hearing on the 9th, remember? And then the board meeting, well, the 10th is a holiday.
Okay,
I'll do that, I'll try that.
okay. Hey, Todd, do you have anything that you want to address us from planning and zoning? Okay, I just want to make sure.
And we're meeting up on the 9th, so.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to close the open?
I'll make a motion to close the open and to meet immediately in closed session to discuss character, professional competence, and physical and mental health of an individual pending or reasonably imminent litigation, and the purchase, exchange, release of real property, including any form of a water right or water share is pertinent pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-204 through 205.
I'll second that.
It's been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
12:53.
It's 2:09. We're at a close. Will someone make the motion to close the close and open the open?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to close the close and reopen the public board meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody, we didn't take no action.
No.
So does someone want a motion to adjourn?
Mr.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Been motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.